Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are discussing the 1983 special, Big Bird in China. And it's not just the two of us, Sam.
An interloper approaches.
We are joined by author of books like The Christmas Wish, I Heart New York, On a Night Like This, Cinders and Sparks, and a lot more books. But she's also a podcaster on the Maximum Fun Wrestling podcast, Tights and Fights, and a beauty podcast called Full Coverage. And she's really just a fun, great person. It's Lindsey Kelk.
Hello. I'm coming here every week. Say things like that. More. Say more things. Even interloper is like the nicest thing I've been called this week. So this is great. This is amazing. Thank you.
I'm only 75% sure I know what interloper means.
That's enough. That's enough. No one knows.
Yeah, don't look it up, anyone. If you don't know, just accept that Sam was correct in his usage of the word.
A person who becomes involved in a place or situation where they are not wanted or considered not to belong. So
there
you're
we
welcome.
go. Like I said, nicest thing anyone said to me all week. So here we go. Off to a
well,
great
you were
start.
invited. You did not just hack into this Google Meet.
That's true. That's true.
So you are wanted here. Lindsey and I have, known each other through the internet for about 5 years now.
Gosh.
After I got you to be on a show I used to produce called The Financial Diet.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. That was forever ago.
That was.
And then
Time means nothing to me anymore. So you could have told me we've known each other 25 years or we met last week. And I would have said, yes, that sounds about right.
I think it's about 4 or 5. And in that time,
Could be.
I've been on Tights and Fights a couple of times. The first time, we accidentally started discussing Muppets, which was not the intention. And then the second time, I went over there to discuss the time where the Muppets were on Monday Night Raw for some reason.
We love a Muppet. We are big wrestling fans, obviously. That is the main thrust of the podcast. But we are all Muppet fans. We all grew up Muppet. So it's very pro-Muppet. And as we discussed on the episode with you, which your listeners should absolutely go back and listen to because you were a delight, wrestling is Muppets. Muppets is wrestling. It is a perfect combination. And it's always a dream.
Did a Muppet get beat up in that episode of the Royal Rumble?
Well, so it was on Monday Night Raw, and I think at least
right.
Beaker got a little beat up by his cousin Sheamus.
Right.
But I think he also later on helped distract somebody so that they got beat up. So
That's
there was
great.
a lot.
Light roughhousing, I think, toward the Muppets.
Nobody gets spun above someone's head and thrown.
I don't know if they had got the legs that day. I
Yeah.
think you've got to ask ahead to make sure you've got legs.
Yeah, you got to write a memo. We must need we
Gotta
need
Velcro the
legs.
legs onto these guys today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think Gonzo might get stretched out a little bit in there. It's been a while again since I watched it, but truly a wild thing that happened that does just reveal that neither Muppets nor wrestling really makes too much sense if you start to scratch at it just too much.
Well, it sounds better than what Holy Moly did, at least.
I mean, yeah, Holy Moly was here's a mini golf show, and also the Muppets are over there. They're not going to interact at all. In this way, the wrestling and the Muppets actually crossed paths.
Cool,
so,
okay, good.
I think it's probably on Peacock somewhere. If you have Peacock and you want to go watch. If you never watched a wrestling thing, but you like Muppets, that'd be a wild thing to start with. But I think it's a great thing to go watch because it's definitely... it's going to give you some false impressions of what normal wrestling is, but it's enjoyable.
I always think that, but I'm like, is it? Because if I watched that first, never having seen wrestling, and I'd only ever seen the Muppet Show, just the actual nuts and bolts, legit original Muppet Show, Monday Night Raw's structure is so comparable to the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Because like there's going to be backstage skits, there's going to be backstage conversations that it's as though, it's off mic, but you're going to see it.
The audience still reacts even though they're like in the locker room.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
And then in between there's going to
Okay.
be acts, but the acts are wrestling. If you took out the wrestling, it's very similar. The structure of it is very much the same, which makes me so happy. There's shenanigans, there's colorful characters.
You have an incompetent rich guy behind the scenes pulling the strings.
Truly. You get two grumpy old people watching it and telling you what they think about it, but they're on the internet instead of in the room. But you do have commentators that play a very similar role. So,
Yeah.
Wow. They ripped off the Muppet Show.
they
huh?
ripped off the Muppet Show and 100% lifted it, allegedly.
So for those that don't know, maybe haven't listened to Commitment here before, what we do is we are going through all Muppet content that we can possibly get our hands on in chronological order. So we started way back in the 50s with episode 1 with Sam and Friends, and we've gone through, at this point, The Muppet Show, we're on to Fraggle Rock, and we are in the spring of 1983, which is why we are here to discuss Big Bird in China with Lindsey. And Lindsey, specifically, requested when the last time we talked about Commitment that, hey, when you do Big Bird on China, I want to talk about it. So we
Yeah.
will definitely get into why you want to talk about Big Bird in China so much. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about some of your other Muppet history. For instance, how long have you been a Muppet fan? What got you into the Muppets?
Yeah, I was born in 1980, so I am solid, locked on, nailed on Muppet. Like all the way. Like I have never not known the Muppets. The Muppets were definitely, I mean, I don't know if they were peaking, but they were so prevalent in the UK. I am English, everyone. Sometimes I have to tell people because sometimes they're like, what? I'm like, well, I've lived in America 14 years. The accent comes in and out. But they were definitely like a big part of British culture in the 80s. The Muppet Show was on TV. I do have very clear memories of watching the Muppet Show. I'll get more into that, but like Fraggle Rock was a huge thing for me. Like I was obsessed with Fraggle Rock. Like that was huge. Muppet Babies was a huge thing for me. Like me and my friends made up a dance to the song in the
Oh, wow.
playground. Like it was just so central. And all of it is so cool. Like I have a very, very clear memory of sitting on the sofa with my mom in the living room, watching the Muppet Show when Count Count was on it. And being truly terrified, like genuinely petrified. And I had to sleep with my mom that night because I'm like,
Wow.
that
'Cause of the
thing
Count?
is wrong. Yes, because I don't know if you know this, he's a vampire.
Yeah.
And apparently I was the only person that was paying attention. So I was like, everyone's like, oh, it's cute, he's counting lampposts. I'm like, no, he's here to kill people. He's
Everyone
here
else
to kill
is
you.
hypnotized by his charms.
Yeah, maybe because I was a child
Yeah.
and like saw through it immediately. I was terrified of him.
Wow.
But yeah, we just always had a Muppet awareness. Like it was just always around. I would say more Muppet Babies and Fraggle Rock for like what I was super into. And Sesame Street kind of came and went in the UK. Like it was around, but it was on when I was at school, and sometimes it was on and sometimes it wasn't. So I was again aware of Sesame Street, but I was much more aware of Muppets.
And you had the
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock where there was a lighthouse keeper, right? Instead
Yes.
of where Doc was a lighthouse keeper and not
Right.
the
He was.
inventor. Have you seen both Docs?
I don't know now. I'm like, wait, what? I just Fraggles. I was a huge fan of Sprocket. I will say that. I've been back and watched a bunch of it on Disney Plus. I did also try and watch the new one on Apple, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, where is the magic? So yeah, I guess I must have. I've seen all of the Fraggles multiple times. I have Fraggle. I forgot to bring those with me. I have Fraggle books, tie-in books. I have the Radish Day Jubilee book. I have a book about Sprocket's first Christmas.
Oh, gosh.
I have all of these things still. I just loved it. I dressed up as a Fraggle. My first Halloween in New York. I missed the memo. And I made a very elaborate red Fraggle costume and went out in Brooklyn dressed as Red Fraggle when everyone else had done Sexy Times costumes.
Classic.
You weren't sexy
Classic
Red Fraggle?
blunder. You got to be sexy red.
Do you know
yeah.
what? I felt it. 'Cause, like, she's the sexiest of them. But well, is she? She's very, extroverted.
Depends on what you're into,
Yeah,
I guess.
Mosey's kind of sexy too, in like a Stevie Nicks kind of a way. But yeah, I was like, I was fully yellow. I had yellow tights. I bought a pair of cheap knockoff Ugg boots and covered them in yellow fur. I made yellow fur hot pants. I got a red turtleneck. I made the ears.
Big pigtails, yeah.
Yeah, I had a little doozer that I took out with me.
This sounds great.
It was great. It was the greatest night of my life. I had a prehensile tail, which I was really proud of the tail because you could bend it and move it around. I had a great night. I ended up hanging out with a guy dressed as Patrick Bateman, and I was like, "This is weird."
Yeah.
For
That's a
Red.
weird
trouble.
fan
You're in
fiction
trouble.
that somebody wrote.
Yeah, I'll send you the photos because it needs to be seen. But I had a great old time. But yeah, I love Fraggles and I love Muppets, and that's a very roundabout way of answering your question. Say all my life, forever and always.
That's one thing I feel like we're missing out on with this show is not knowing the cultural impact of it in the UK, because it's just like, obviously it was huge, but there's no way for us to really know or like understand how huge it was.
Yeah, and it changes too, I think, with different generations and with where your in is with it. Like, we also obviously had the movies, and my brother is 5 years older than me, so he was that 70s baby that loved the movies, which was a knock on for me. And weirdly, I did bring some show and tell, but like, I grew up with this book, which I don't know if you've ever seen.
The annuals?
But it's a Muppet Show
Yeah.
annual, which I think is 1976 or something, I want to say, inside.
I say that looks like first season Fozzie on the back there. He looks a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's 77, so Muppet Show annual, but 1977. Yeah, look at that. It's like, it's a bold choice to put those on the back, and then this is the front. They made some
They
bold
didn't quite
Muppet
know
choices.
they didn't know who the stars were yet. They were just
No,
like
they
tossing
really
anybody at it.
Who are some of those
I know.
guys?
It's like, I guess Fozzie and Rolf are there, but like, really? Piggy's on the back? Piggy's on the back?
She didn't even have a voice at that point, so.
Yeah,
But
Vicky had
this
two
was,
different performers.
Yeah, this lived at my grandparents' house, and I just would read it every week. I would sit down every week, we would go and visit, and I would go and find my book. I was like, where is my book? And that was my book, and I would sit and read it. So it was definitely big. Muppet Babies was huge. Fraggle Rock was huge. Everyone that I was in school with was obsessed with those. Muppet Babies, I mean, it's a banger of a tune. You can't fight kids when there's a banger of a tune, you know?
That's true. That's all I remember about Muppet Babies, basically, also, is the
It's
intro
great.
music.
It's solid. I recommend to go back and check it out. It's
Well,
very good.
we eventually have to.
Yeah, we
we will
have
be
to.
discussing that in about June, I believe, is when we'll get to
I'll
Muppet
see you
Babies.
right back here. I'll see you back here then.
All right.
I'll show you the dance.
Well, yeah. Speaking of, this is going to be a great segue, by the way. Speaking of your books,
Yes.
and your Muppet book specifically, I feel like there's something we have to address here that. I feel like we're, breaking some ground, sharing some news, because I teased this a little bit on Twitter, and everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? Which, fair. There is a book that came out in 2011. That's the Muppets junior novel of the movie, the Jason Segel film that came out.
Yes,
If you open that up, it says the author's name is Catherine Turner.
it does.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Catherine Turner does not exist.
Well, I mean, it depends on your definition of exist. I also
We don't
want to
have
say
time
it's a
for
very
that kind of
well-reviewed
discussion. That's
book.
too
When we
existential.
look at this on Amazon, it's a very well-reviewed book. No, it's. I happen to have a copy here, which is how interesting that I would have that when it was written by Catherine Turner. Yes, Catherine Turner is me. I am Catherine Turner. That is my
Ba-bum.
ghostwriting pseudonym that I use when I would write licensed projects. And this is the greatest book I've ever written ever in the history of books. It's my favorite thing. It was me all along.
So there are other Catherine Turner books that you have just revealed.
There are other Catherine Turner books. This was so. I'm a writer primarily, and before I was a writer, I worked in film and TV tie-in publishing. So I was an editor making books out of film and TV. And when I crossed over to write full time, obviously I still had friends in that realm, and I had a ton of experience of working on the other side of it. So I did, that was a bit of a side hustle for a while. I did a few, it wasn't even a side hustle, it's a job. It's such a job. You think it's going to be fun. Someone calls you up and says, do you want to write a book about this movie? And then they send you a script and you're like, oh, what have I done? But yeah, I did a bunch of them. I did some stuff for Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Wow.
I did some stuff. I wrote the novelization of the movie Ouija.
Ooh.
Truly,
That's
what a
cool.
day. Is it?
People like that. People like that
Well,
movie.
do you know what? They liked it so much that I had to rewrite the entire thing after they changed the entire script during shooting because I wrote
Okay.
the book and then they shot it and then they were like, "This is terrible." So then they kept reshooting it and I kept having to rewrite it. I still don't understand the ending, and I wrote the book because they just kept changing. And it's like, wait, what? They're in a basement. There's a doll. What is happening? I don't know.
Yeah, the Revenge of the Fallen is an incomprehensible film. So
That was wild. That was a wild one because I had to go to Hasbro to read the script. They wouldn't let me have it in New York. I had to go to Rhode Island. They then had redacted huge chunks of it, like it was some government document. But I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but it's old people. But
Feel free.
someone dies. A main character dies, and they had redacted that in the script that they gave me because they didn't want it in the novel.
So you're supposed to write the book based on this movie where a main character dies, and they're like, yeah, but don't include that part.
Don't mention that, even though that's the end of Act 2 and all of Act 3 depends on that.
So Act 3 in your book is just them being like, why are we doing this again? I don't remember.
It was just terrible. And then I think the worst thing about that was, I don't know if my version ever even came out because there was some issue at the publisher. I'm going to get sued. There was an issue at the publisher where someone posted the title of the movie on Amazon when it hadn't been announced yet. And the title of the movie got leaked. And that contract was terminated. And the books were published elsewhere.
Wow.
And they did get all of our material, but I don't think they ever even used my manuscript. So I went through all of that for nothing. But it's a wild job. I looked at some stuff for Batman for it was for the second Christian Bale Batman movie, and I had to sit in a canteen while an assistant from Warner Brothers sat with me while I read the script. And it was the same thing. They just chopped out a ton of the end. They chopped out a whole thing with Batman and the Joker in their final fight. And I'm like, what do you want me to tell people? And you want me to write books for kids based on this, for children.
Right. Seems
for
a little
minors.
easier, for the Muppets as opposed to a murderous clown.
Yeah, who's gonna
Considerably,
cut
yeah.
a woman's mouth open with a
And
knife?
they just kept saying, but it's Batman. But it's Batman. I'm like, it is. It
That's
is.
disturbing.
Yeah, it's not great. But yeah, I've done some mad stuff. And then, a friend of mine called me and said, we need something written.
Was it Kermit the Frog?
It was my friend Kermit.
Okay.
I was trying not to drop names, but you brought him up, Sam. You opened that door. So they called and they said, are you available right now? And I wasn't. I was on the end of some edits of one of my books. And she said, no, you are. Trust me, you are available. I can't tell you anything until you sign an NDA. And I was trying to not be an bad person and bad friend by being like, I really can't, I really don't have time. And she's like, you do have time. And I know this person very well, and I know that she loves the Muppets. I knew that she loved them more than anything else. And I just, when you just know, you've just got a feeling. And I signed the NDA and I got the screenplay, and I think I wrote the first draft within 2 weeks. Because it was just like, we do not have time to mess around. Do you want to do this? I was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well,
so, yeah, it's wild.
I think, you mentioned about like how with the other books that you get either a redacted screenplay or they change a lot of things. There's a whole Muppet Wiki article about this book, mostly highlighting the differences between the book and the film, which I have to imagine after reading it, a lot of them seem like things that like would have been deleted scenes because they were like, well, let's cut that for time, or let's cut that for like we don't need the story, or that's too expensive to do in a film.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the things in the book is Gonzo is such a successful plumbing magnate that he has a giant skyscraper for his company that he ends up exploding at the end of the scene, as opposed to like a tiny one-story factory that he explodes in the movie. I don't know if maybe Disney was like, maybe we're not quite ready to show exploding skyscrapers yet, or if it was just like, hey, that seems expensive from a CGI point of view. What if we just did a small brick building? But there's other differences in there that I feel like are pretty big. And there's one specific challenge about writing this book that I want to ask you about. One, I think the biggest difference is Gary and Walter are not brothers. They're just best friends in the book. And the one thing I'm wondering about is like, concerning Walter, you do a very good job of this, but there's something about starting to watch this movie and you see Jason Segel and you see a small Muppet Man and you're like, they are brothers. And the joke is immediately visible of like, in your book, you can't just say Walter is a Muppet because he's not supposed to be a Muppet. He doesn't feel like he belongs to the Muppets, but we're supposed to believe that he is friends with this human man. And so you have to go like around a way of like describing to the audience, hey, this guy looks exactly like Muppets. So he's described as shorter, not like other humans. He has big googly eyes and fuzzy hair. And he's 4 feet shorter than Gary. And so I'm just like, I love that it was like, we can't just say he's a Muppet Man. But yeah, like,
is he a man or is he a Muppet? That's the question.
That's the whole crux
you know?
of the movie, man.
Spoiler alert. But I guess, yeah, the changes, like them not being brothers and with not being able to mention like celebrity names in the book where it's just like famous actor says this thing.
God.
What was that like taking that script to that, I guess, as much as you can legally say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember what I signed anymore. My friend doesn't work there, so I'm like, like, what is it anymore? Who knows? It's so long ago. I also was photographed in the New York Post holding the book because they did a Muppet thing, and my friend was like, sure, go to her apartment and talk to her. And I didn't realize they would take a photo, and I'm like, well, I think we might have blown the lid off this, pal. So it's a bit late in the day for that. But yeah, it was the main thing I remember about the screenplay is I mean, it was wildly different to where the movie ended up. And they hadn't even, I guess they hadn't cast it when I got it, or they just hadn't fed back. Because sometimes the movie and the book are really hand in hand, and you see everything. So I wrote a novelization for a movie called Anna and the Apocalypse. And I worked with one of the executive producers on the novel, so he was very close to it, and he would be like, oh, we changed that, can you change that now? Because he wanted it to be very close and then just delve in a little bit deeper, because that's the other thing with a novel, it's longer than a screenplay, even a kid's novel. So like you say, there's stuff in there that didn't make the cut for time most often. But with this, it really felt like Disney just sent a version of the script over and went, there you go. Don't worry about it. And it's like, well, how did it end up when you shot it? Like, don't worry about it. So there were so many things in there. And it was mainly the celebrities and how the celebrities came into the story. So it's Jack Black, right, is in the movie. And in the screenplay, it was Robert Downey Jr.,
which, to be fair, makes a lot more sense with the plot line because he's supposed to be in like anger management counseling with Animal.
Jack Black, notoriously super angry guy.
Well, I feel like in the screenplay, and I may be incorrect, this may be my memory, and this is when Disney are going to get on the phone, but like I think it was just pitched more of a rehab facility in general. And it was like a general rehabilitation from various issues facility.
Which is maybe why Robert was not into the idea.
And I'm reading it being like, it's a bit close to the bone. Like, have we got him on board for this? He just did Iron Man. You know, it's like he's in the Disney family, but he's doing very well. So it was very weird. So a lot of the actors were named in the screenplay, and then obviously none of them were in the movie.
Were they in the book though, or was that you weren't allowed to say their names?
No, we weren't allowed to use anyone's names in the books because I think they couldn't confirm or deny anyone at that point.
Right.
Yeah, Piggy and Kermit, that got way deeper. The Tex story got way deeper.
I was looking through that, and one of the things is that in the book, there's a flashback to the wedding scene from Muppets Take Manhattan, where Kermit realizes that the minister in the movie was a real minister. And that's what like leads to Kermit and Piggy having an argument and breaking up. And like there's like the subtext throughout a lot of the earlier part of the book saying like Kermit doesn't want to talk about what happened with Piggy. Like it's clear like some shit went down. And in the movie, it's a lot more of like Kermit's not like into conflict. Like Kermit just doesn't want to really deal with that, but they don't really delve into what happened.
she November rained him. Like, she really stitched him up. And he's justified in his feelings, I think, of betrayal there.
Yeah.
That was a big move, Figgy. Big move.
I feel like she's done that multiple times that we've watched so far.
I mean, it's Piggy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, side note and unrelated, but I have a friend who's a journalist in the UK, and she had to interview Piggy one time for a beauty line that she was doing.
Great.
I've tried so hard. She did a beauty collaboration recently with a brand called Ciate, and I tried so hard to get her on full coverage, and they couldn't make it happen, and I was devastated. But my friend has said that it was one of her most difficult interviews of all time. Because you have to she's interviewed Mariah Carey, she interviewed all of these giant celebrities, Kim Kardashian, and she's like, Piggy was the hardest. Because she is just such a diva and is never off. You have to do it completely straight. And she did say, she's like, I'm just staring her in the eyes, being like, give me something. And it's like, oh, Piggy. So
it is fun to watch people sweat when they're interviewing the Muppets for sure. Because
that was for print. That was what's so weird. It was a print interview. But you still had to go and do a legit interview with Piggy, and I was obsessed
That's so
with
ridiculous.
it. So now when I look back at that, I'm like, Piggy, you're not a good person. Piggy, and I think about what she did to Kermit there. Not a good person.
Yeah, what we have realized going back and watching all of the Muppet Show and various things is that people have this idea of who the Muppets were painted through rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia and all this, where it's like the Muppets are these pure, childlike, innocent beings, and it's like they beat each other up all the time, they yell at each other, they fire each other, they are
very
dicks.
rude in
Like a
general,
lot of the time, they all suck at various times. But yeah, like specifically Piggy, often like she has the worst jokes made about her, and she's the most violent towards other people. So there's a lot of complicated things happening with Miss Piggy.
Hurt people, Matthew. Hurt people, hurt people. Hurt pigs, hurt Muppets. That's what I know. I understand it. I have empathy towards Piggy, but she's not a good person. She's not a good pig. That's what I know.
Kermit's a pretty bad person too, though. So
he has some stuff. I just feel like Kermit has such a victim complex.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
he thinks he's so much better than everybody else.
Thinks he's so much better than everyone else because he runs a show and he's a journalist. Although I've got to say, I just feel like a lot of his anger is because the journalism never really took off.
It didn't pan out for him. Yeah,
that's what he went to school
And he
for, and he
ended
was
up-
really hoping that would work out, and it just was
And
like,
he ended
I guess
up
I'm just...
managing a TV show.
Yeah,
So
he does
like,
look
I
for
get
any
it.
excuse to bust out that trench coat and that hat. It's
Any
just like,
excuse. He
come on,
paid a lot of
dude.
money for it because he really thought he was going to get his wear out of it.
And he had to get
hasn't.
special made because it's so tiny.
Right? Exactly. He's got a lot of internal anger, I think, that, we all think of Kermit as being the good guy, but let's dig in.
VH1 behind the music on Kermit. Black and white zoom in on his face.
I would love a VH1 behind the music of the Electric Mayhem. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Well, the book sounds better than the movie, I think.
I'm not going to say that I spent, when it came out, some time looking at the Amazon reviews, and that was the general consensus.
Cool.
People were reviewing it, like, very legitimately and saying, like, it goes a lot deeper. It makes a lot more sense. Now I understand people's motivations. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Well, and there's something specifically that happens in the book that does not get mentioned in the movie that I know specifically Steve Whitmire, former performer of Kermit, took issue with in the movie. And so I think he would have liked your book better as well, because you mention in there, when they go to Kermit's big mansion, that Kermit does not actually live in this mansion. They ask him about it in the book, like, you live in this giant house all alone? And he's like, oh no, I just come to get the mail once a week. I actually live in a pond in the park. This was
great.
I watched an interview recently with Steve Whitmire where he was saying one of the things he didn't like about the 2011 movie was he didn't think that Kermit would be like living in Bel Air in this giant mansion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, in the book, it addresses that he lives in a pond in a park. He just has this house, I guess, because he needs a mailing address.
Yeah,
Why is he
honestly,
a robot?
Right, it's not Kermit's vibe, is it? It's not a vibe. I would love to talk to Jason Segel about it, and only about this. But I would love to have that conversation. And I did try and get a copy of the book to him because we were both living in Brooklyn at the time, and I would see him around, and I was like,
Throw it at him.
can I just get it to him? And I like tweeted him, and he ignored it, and I was just like, why do we do this? And then my editor was like, stop it. And I was like, okay, noted. But I would genuinely love to have a conversation with him about how because he wrote the script. So it's like,
Right.
how do you feel about what you originally wrote? Because some of the intention is very different, and some of the meaning in there does become very different versus what came out in the edit. And I don't know how much control he had on the edit. Because, you can write it and you can star in it, but you don't have a clue what's going to be on that screen until it's there. So I would love to have that conversation with him and just see, whether it met his expectations. I know he would never tell us, honestly.
I mean, maybe by the time we get around to discussing 2011,
That's what I was going to say.
We can get Jason
we'll have
Segel to
both
come
of
back.
you guys on.
There we go.
Right? Sometimes now I see him around LA because he lives over here too. I'm like, I've seen you in Gelson's, Jason. Don't make me follow you. Don't make me do it. I have questions about the Muppets.
You have
I
to
just think
dress
he
up
would really respect it.
You have to dress up like a waiter, and you have to
Yes.
bring him his bill with it
Or-
tucked into the book.
Well, or we could all sit on each other's shoulders and wear a trench
Muppet Man.
coat and follow
Yeah.
him back to his car. And I just think he might be super into that. I think he would respect
like it.
the effort.
If an 18-foot tall person was just like stalking him.
I mean,
through the
isn't
streets,
he
for
like
sure.
18 foot tall anyways? So that'll work.
He's a very
That's
tall
true.
man. He's a very tall man, yeah. So I think he would be okay. He wouldn't be intimidated by it. I think he would see it immediately and get it. And I think he would respect us for it. I think he'd say, I like your moxie, kid. And then he would sit down and have a conversation with us.
Well, yeah, I'm very curious, like in those kinds of cases, because you would think if everything went smoothly, he would have been back for the sequel, like Muppets Most Wanted,
yeah.
and he is not involved at all in the sequel, and yet, like, obviously Walter lives on in Muppet projects, and so it's like, okay, but Walter's brother is still out there somewhere theoretically.
Yep.
So yeah,
Living his best life.
He got married to Amy Adams. He doesn't have any other issues to solve in his life.
Well, a couple other questions. I promise the audience we'll get on to talking about Big Bird in China. But when we have Lindsey here, I have specific questions about this. I guess the takeaway from the novelization, what was it like writing dialogue for the Muppets?
Oh, it honestly was the greatest moment of my whole life. Truly, I know I sound like I'm being facetious, but it was...
You have written many books.
I've written so many books, but I've never written anything else for the Muppets. Like I wrote a couple of Batman icon reads, and that's dumb because you're like, Batman's dumb. I did get to put in like a really good pun about Killer Croc because he electrocuted Killer Croc at the end, but you weren't allowed to kill him. This is the weird thing about licensing. It's like, we need you to beat Killer Croc. Killer Croc can't kill anyone because it's a children's icon read and he can't die, but he does have to be incapacitated to the point of capture. And he chased him into the sewers and electrocuted him, but didn't kill him.
Is his name still Killer Croc in the book?
His name was still Killer Croc. Yeah, but I mean, this was a while back, so it
Mean
was,
guy Croc.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, maiming Croc. It's like, I don't know. It was very weird. I did so many brands. Like I wrote Shrek. I wrote some Dr.
that's
Zeus
amazing.
stuff. I mean, I've written everything for everyone. Spider-Man, all of the big brands. But this is the only one where I was like, oh my God, it's the Muppets though. And that was wild because there were parts where you had to pad it out because, quite often in a script, I'm sure everyone knows, like it's just dialogue. There's very minimal action.
You
So
also
you've
have
gotta
the musical
build
numbers to skip over.
the musical numbers, and I had to interpret that into a brief scene to make it make sense without that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a lot. But this one was, without sounding like an inspirational podcast, a true labor of love. Because it genuinely, every time I opened my computer, I was so happy. I was living in this really crappy apartment in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. We did not have a bathroom. We had a toilet room and a shower in our kitchen. And it was not, it was an interesting time of my life. And I just remember being in this little tiny bedroom, and our neighbors next door were in a very fancy renovated sort of townhouse, and ours was the dilapidated old Brooklyn apartment. And they had renovated theirs, and they had just put a hot tub in their backyard. So every time I was in my room, every night I could just hear these European frat boys who lived in this apartment in their hot tub. And I'm sat there trying to write this Muppet novelization. I mean, like, I hate everything but this. Like, this is the only thing. And it just made me so happy. But truly, putting words in Muppets' mouths is wild. Wild. I honestly don't know how Jason Segel sat down and did it, because it's... I mean, you have a confidence that is not mine to write a whole story for them.
Well, we'll ask him when he's back on the podcast.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Sam, a half hour in now, I should ask you, what did we watch this week?
Big Bird in China, which originally aired on May 29th, 1983, opens with our old pal Big Bird bringing Barkley the dog to Chinatown to show him a scroll that Big Bird saw in a shop window depicting a beautiful phoenix. While they're looking, the shopkeeper comes out and tells them that if one were to find the various Chinese landmarks depicted on the scroll, they would learn the secret location of the phoenix. Big Bird, excited by the concept of being able to meet another Big Bird, and also filled with the desire to spread cross-cultural peace and understanding, decides to go to China to meet the phoenix. He convinces the shopkeeper to give him the scroll and then, I guess, goes down to the harbor and stows away on a boat to China. Once in China, Big Bird identifies the first landmark as some kind of wall, but quickly realizes that the language barrier is going to be a problem in his quest, even though that doesn't really stop him from having a good time sightseeing and even renting a motorcycle. So he bums around Beijing for a while, eventually wandering into a school where he meets Xiao Fu, a little girl who can speak English. Big Bird tells her his quest, and she agrees to guide his dumb ass around China. She takes him to the Great Wall of China, where they find none other than the Monkey King, hero of Chinese legend, who gives them a clue as well as an hourglass and lets them know that they only have until the sand runs out to find the phoenix for some reason. So after a rough time finding clue number 1, they knock out the other 3 clues really fast, meeting the Monkey King at each stop for some antics and some more obscure clues. At the final location, they also learn the story of the phoenix and how she defeated the Demon King who stole the sun with a song so beautiful that he cried an entire river. By the time they have all the clues, the hourglass is just about out, so they sit and despair until Xiao Fu notices that the clues are referring to the very mountain vista that they're looking over. They follow the clues to a mangrove tree and call upon the phoenix, who appears and tells Big Bird that this whole quest was put together by her to make him run all over China and learn about it and observe its beauty. She then sings them the song that she used to defeat the Demon King, which, by the way, does not make either Big Bird or Xiao Fu cry at all. And Big Bird goes back to America to share everything he learned with his friends. Also, Big Bird has a tie on the whole time for some reason.
I love the tie. It was like when my granddad would travel in the 80s and my nan made him travel in a suit. Like, whenever we flew anyway, you had to go in a suit. That made sense to me.
He has the tie on when he goes to the shop at the beginning, too, though. It's
Well,
like,
he's just feeling dapper.
I guess so.
Maybe, we don't know. That could have been his phase, you know?
that could be.
He would have been listening to Blondie a lot. And he was like, I'm going to start wearing skinny jeans at a tie.
We have like
wow.
mod Big Bird. This is like as far as it gets.
Yeah.
There is that really cursed picture of Big Bird in jeans, so, you know, it's happened.
Well, yeah, we watched this on YouTube. It is available if you look up on YouTube Big Bird in China 1982, which is the wrong year, you will find this version of it. There is an officially released version that was released on DVD in 2004. In that version, though, there's a couple of edits. One is that Brian Meal, who performed Telly in this version, is dubbed over by Marty Robinson, who is the current performer of Telly. So that would sound more like what kids are used to, because this Telly is a different Telly than the Telly that exists today as far as voice goes.
Yeah.
But more notably, the biggest change to the DVD is that they removed anytime Big Bird scolded people for not speaking American, which, you know, I after watching this, I understand, because the first time he does it, it feels a little innocuous and you're like, okay, that was a little rough. Like, I could see them not including that in the future as like an educational program. But the like 8th time that he's like, doesn't anyone here speak American? You're like, all right, calm down, Big Bird.
Yeah. He like threatens violence towards the Monkey King because he will not speak English.
Well, to be fair, not to be fair, but like to be like, Big Bird's anger truly comes out if he finds out the Monkey King actually has been able to speak English this entire time.
Yeah. I mean, again, not unlike my grandfather traveling in the 80s. So again, maybe that didn't concern me, because I'm like, yep, nope, got it.
That is the
Understand
thing
this.
too, is like holding this up to the 2023 standards. It is hard to watch some of those scenes.
It's
It's like
tough.
the dumb American tourist. But in the early 80s, the fact that like this is one of the first things like between the U.S. and China that was able to be made.
It's wild.
I am actually surprised at how little racism there is in this thing.
Yeah.
What a lovely place to land on in 2023. This 40-year-old TV special.
Yeah,
is
a
not
lot less
as racist
racism than I thought.
As I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And that is truly the best we can hope for right now, which is just magical, really.
The only real, like, slight racism I sensed, aside from the Speak American, was always from Oscar the Grouch, which was, I guess, not entirely surprising.
In character, in context, I'm like, yes, okay, yes.
Yeah, it'd be weirder if it was Grover. It's still weird that Oscar's doing it, but if Grover was suddenly being a little racist, I'd be like,
secretly
whoa,
turn out he was
okay.
racist the whole time.
Yeah,
Not so
the time.
super, Grover. Lindsay, you were specifically requested to discuss this one, which I have to assume means you have some personal attachment to this from your childhood.
Which meant I had to go back and watch it. Yes, it's a very, very strong, like, inside out core memory for me, is watching this, which, when I went back to dig into it for this, I was like, wait, well, it definitely wasn't 1983 because I would have been 2, and I would not remember that. But it played in the UK, and I've tried so hard to find out where it was and when it was, but it would have been in the early 80s, and it played on TV during the school holidays, and I think it was the summer holidays, and I just have this very, very clear memory of being at my grandmother's house, and this being on the TV, and being both transfixed and horrified by it. Because I remember being scared of Barkley. Apparently I was a fearsome child, a fearful child. I'm fearsome, actually, honestly. But then I had a dog. I have like a robot dog that I got when I was like 5 that I called Barkley. So now I'm like doing some therapy on myself. I'm like, was
facing
this
your
aversion
fears.
therapy? Was I facing my Barkley fear by bringing a Barkley into my life? Maybe. And I was absolutely petrified of the Monkey King because I, as a small child, was watching it and going like, that's not right. That's not okay. The giant yellow bird on roller skates, got it, cool, on it. But the Monkey King I was very afraid of. But yeah, it's such a clear memory. And then when I tried to remember what happens in Big Bird at China, I had nothing. But I just have such a clear memory of watching it, of the China of it all, because that was such a strange thing to me as a little girl in the north of England. Like, I really didn't know anything about China. This probably was my first introduction to the concept of China.
That's interesting.
Which is wild. I grew up as, again, someone who loves Muppets, someone who loves kitsch, someone who loves kwai. Like, in Japanese culture and Chinese culture, I've always been fascinated by all of it. So maybe this is where it came from. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that it's so strange. It's just such a core memory, even though I remember so few details, that it clearly made a fundamental impression on me. Big Bird in China, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and I think it does, for the most part, do a really good job of sharing, like, Chinese culture with Americans in the early 80s who would have not known, they didn't have Google. They couldn't just watch TikToks of people in China. Like, they because there's a lot of moments throughout this that I think, like, obviously there's some more problematic issues with the Speak American stuff, but there's issues where they just stop and appreciate some Chinese culture and don't need to comment on it. They don't have any jokes about it. They just watch it and they move on. And it just is like, hey, look at this thing that is happening. There's like the Chinese sword dancing. There's the cute little kids doing their duck dance. There's a few things in here that are just like, they happen, they're cute, they're appreciated, and they move on.
Yeah. And the beauty of the country, like, I really feel like they did go out of their way, but it didn't feel like a travelogue, It didn't feel like sometimes when, again, this is a wrestling reference, sometimes when wrestling is in certain states, they have to include like a little tourism bumper, and they have to do like a little clip show of like, you should come to Delaware, it's incredible, look at all these amazing things, and you're like, wait, what? How is this? What is happening? But it never felt like that. Even rewatching it, I'm like, it didn't feel forced. It just genuinely felt like I'm there with Big Bird and he's just checking it out. And yeah, it's really lovely. I cried when he cried. I was like, look at that little tear.
When he
Look
cried
at
that big silver tear of
giant
mercury
ball
or something.
that ran down his face. It did make me worry about him. Like, he's been eating too much tuna. He's been eating too much tuna.
Yeah.
Once a week, Big Bird, once a week only. But he is a big bird and he had been at sea. So he probably would have a lot of mercury in his bloodstream. But yeah, I just, like, I've never forgot it. And then I could never find it anywhere until, the wonders of YouTube. But just for years and years, for literally 4 decades, I thought about it and couldn't find it.
Did you just watch it the one time when you were young?
Yeah.
Wow.
It must have just been on. I'm a very strange child and I have very weird memories. Like, my memory works in a way that it will cling to something and the details of it forever, and I will hold it. Usually it's about a person and it's a grudge because I'm English. And it's like, guess what? I remember talking to my brother about whether or not Bros was better than New Order while we were on vacation in 1987, 88, and he's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, why would I have made that up? I was 7.
You're still mad about it and he has no memory.
Right? And he claims it never happened. I'm like, I think you'll find, Robert. But yeah, I have these very, very clear, just almost photographic memories of moments, which I'm sure everyone does. I'm like, I'm so special, but it just was it's such a strong memory. And I think because that was a really happy time for me. Like, I was at my grandmother's, it was summer holidays, I was allowed to watch TV, and I was just merrily laid on the floor watching this giant yellow thing go to China.
I have like the same thing, but with Big Bird in Japan. I remember watching that with my dad, and my dad just laughing and laughing at Big Bird's antics. Like when he would like say Ohio, he'd be like, "Oh, some more nice people from Ohio." That I remember so distinctly in my brain, and I'm excited to watch that one again.
Yeah,
we're a little bit away from that one. That's 1988, so we've got a lot of Muppet Babies and Fraggle Rock to get through.
Of our lives to go.
Yeah, it'll probably be in about 2 years. Maybe we'll be talking about 1988. So we'll get there eventually, Sam. Don't worry.
I can't believe he didn't go sooner. Like, he loved China so much, and he didn't think to go back east and figure out some more stuff.
Well, so the
I
thing,
he just didn't know it existed.
After this, their initial plan was to do Big Bird in the Soviet Union. Was the next plan that they were gonna do. That didn't work out. Why
not? Why ever not? What were they thinking? That could have been a real treat.
They could have brought the world together.
Well,
right?
So
maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to say anything else. But maybe, Vlad would have been an impressionable age. What if he'd seen this? What if he'd seen Big Bird in the Soviet Union?
He could have been the Xiao Fu of Big Bird in Soviet Russia. But the storyline, apparently, it got far enough that they had, like, John Stone went to Russia to, like, do a scouting trip like he did for Big Bird in China. They put together a treatment. They had planned it out. Instead of a monkey king, it was going to be the evil witch, the Baba Yaga.
Wow.
Yeah.
No notes.
Who wanted to take Big Bird's legs because her house was a hut that was supported by chicken legs. And she was like, well, if I got those legs, my house is going to be way
really
sturdier.
Start hoofing it. Yeah.
Can't fault her for that, really. That is fair. She's gone at that logically.
Terrifying.
And she's just like, it's just the Big Bird,
Yeah.
She doesn't know it's big. She doesn't know it's the Big Bird. She knows he's a Big Bird. So,
Some other behind-the-scenes things about this, you mentioned that they went out of their way to show a lot of this. They really did, because if you look at on a map where they travel throughout this, they make it seem like they're just walking from location to location. They travel across, like, most of China, from, like, north to south, like, at least. I looked it up, and to walk, one of the walks they do would be 400 hours of a walk.
I mean, he's a Big Bird with a longer stride. So
Xiao Fu, though,
maybe
very
like
tiny
350.
legs.
I like to think he would carry her, but he really didn't. He was quite short with her from time to time.
Maybe he's got his motorcycle still. That's
true.
See it.
That's true. We did see the motorcycle. I thought there was one point where he tells her to hurry up. Like, she's running behind him. And he's like, come on. And I'm like, fuck's sake, Big Bird. She's 3 feet tall.
You're the weak link here, Big Bird. And you're yelling at Barkley and Xiao Fu a lot.
Not cool.
Barkley, like, runs away and he finds him and he's like, oh, because of you, we ran out of time on our quest. He's a dog.
He knocks Barkley into the river at one point and is mad at Barkley.
Yeah. You can't be mad at a dog off leash. Like, you did that. That was
this is
your
your fault.
choice. Yes. You have also abducted a small child. I think if anyone has questions to answer, Big Bird, it is not those two.
It's a good thing he got out of the country at the end, because he was in big trouble.
Truly. Like, I'm hoping that her family were very concerned about where she was.
Surely no one seems to notice. I guess you can
No
assume
one
it was just
notices.
magically a day somehow that they were out. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
but no
just
one notices.
having a gentle stroll around 400 hours worth of China.
Yeah.
One of the things that, like, this was the first time that I'd ever watched this, which was, I will say, overall, very enjoyable. But it also gave me a reason to go back and revisit parts of the I Am Big Bird Carol Spinney documentary, which I've seen at this point probably 6-7 times all the way through. But there's a chunk in the middle of that where they go and talk about the behind the scenes of making this special and how it was quite difficult. And it all came about because of the time that Big Bird went with Bob Hope to China in 1979, which we watched previously on this podcast. It was the Bob Hope On the Road to China special, which is much worse in its racism.
The Big Bird parts are still really
You
nice.
don't
but-
say.
Yeah, the Big Bird stuff is great, but you send, a comedian in the 70s over to China to do, I think, maybe the first ever, like, U.S. show in China. Surprise, not handled incredibly well. But that was the instance where Bob Hope went on the radio and just said, hey, I'm going to China and I'm going to stroll down the streets with my friend Big Bird. And Carol Spinney was like, he's doing what now?
Excuse me?
Like, Bob Hope didn't tell anyone he was going to say that, and then he just decided Big Bird was coming with him. But Carol and Deborah Spinney enjoyed China so much that they wanted to find an excuse to go back. And so they basically talked to John Stone and were like, hey, what if we did a Big Bird special in China? And he went and found a phoenix, because that's a bird. And so apparently that's what, kicked this whole thing off. And
So that was Carol's idea to find the Phoenix?
apparently it was Carol and Deb's idea. They don't get any credit for, like, story by or anything like that
Story
in
by,
there,
yeah.
which is based on the relationship between Carol Spinney and John Stone. Not entirely surprising. They didn't seem to get along at all. Specifically, I think during this trip, a lot of people talk about the roughness of their relationship, where they'd be out shooting for a day, and at the end of the day, John Stone would go around and tell everyone, like, good job, good job, good job, and then he would just walk by Carol Spinney.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's one of
So
those guys
cold.
that, like, it's unfortunate. Like, when they talk about him in documentaries, it's always like, he was the greatest director. He's the true father of Sesame Street. But, he was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
But,
And then it shows a clip of him like swearing at Grover or something.
Oh, he literally says, there's one point in the documentary where they show a clip from this where Big Bird, where Carol misses a cue, and you hear John Stone go, ah, shit, there was no cue there. And Carol's like, somebody tapped me. Somebody told me to go. But it's the unfortunate side is that everyone, after they say he's a dick, go like, but I think that's what made him such a great director. And it's like, oh,
Makes
you
me
can.
so sad.
No, I think you can be a good director without being an asshole to Big Bird.
I mean, just that sentence in and of itself is so distressing.
But they do talk about how apparently the team was so understaffed during this production. Frank Oz actually went to China with the crew and ended up having to help carry gear and bags around because they were so understaffed. But the biggest part they talk about in that documentary is how close Carol and Deborah Spinney grew with Aoyong Lianza, who is the little girl who plays Xiao Fu. And they show how when they were working together, this now woman who played Xiao Fu is talking in the documentary about how she says, no one had ever cared for me like they cared for me. And it's this sweet, sad moment where they talk about how when they had to leave and they couldn't really say goodbye to her and they wrote her letters, but the government didn't want these U.S. people having a relationship with a child in their country. So they intercepted the letters. But they show near the end of the documentary, they get to reunite with her 30 years later. And it's this super sweet moment when they, the three of them go through New York and are, walking, holding hands as if they're, a family still. And it's very, very sweet. So, I suggest checking that out if you've seen Big Bird in China and want to, be even more heartwarmed by the little girl. Go watch that.
Now I feel even worse about implying no one cared about where she was.
I mean, it might have come from a reality a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And
I
think
mean, it's sad when it's true.
I think the biggest, weirdest thing to learn about the behind the scenes, too, is that she literally spoke zero English when they filmed this. They recorded her lines to a cassette tape and sent it to her, and she memorized all the sounds of the lines. And yet, she is like the heart of this special. She's the
Yeah.
brains of the operation. She carries
Yeah.
this whole thing. And to learn that she did not even know what she was saying or reacting to is amazing.
Yeah, she's so good. I mean, it even ends on her. It ends on her little giggle at the end,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh my god, we love her so much! Don't leave her behind, Big Bird. Like, please, dark things are ahead." Yeah, I that blew my mind when I read that she did not speak any English or American, as it were. Not a word of American. She's so good. She's so good, and she's very compelling to watch. She's not like an annoying child actor. Like, no offense to child actors, loads of them are terrible.
Big Bird's way more annoying than she is. And
So
Barkley is
much
just
more
very
annoying.
annoying too. Barkley's just
Yeah.
barking in the background of this entire thing.
He's a dog, Sam.
I know, but he's not really a dog.
Barkley's gonna Barkley, you know? It's like,
So.
did he even choose to go on this adventure? Did he like
Oh.
fully cognizantly understand what he was doing when he got on that boat? Like,
I think partway through, Big Bird was like, "This was a mistake. I
Yeah.
should not have brought Barkley."
Big
with
Bird
me."
didn't want to go on his own. Big Bird
Yeah.
wanted someone to come, but Big Bird wanted to be the big man, and he
Yeah.
wanted to be in charge, so he couldn't
Yeah.
ask any of the others.
Everyone
Like
else would
Elmo's
boss him
parents
around.
wouldn't let him come, so he brought Barkley, and
Yeah.
he suffers the consequences, I'm afraid.
He needs somebody as big as him to balance out the boat, because if Big Bird was the only one in
Yeah.
that little boat, that would tip
True.
right over.
That's true. That's true. Although he's a lot of feather. Like,
Yeah, I
he's
don't think
mostly
he's very
feather,
heavy. He's got hollow
So-
bones for sure.
right? And a hollow brain.
Oh. That was like one of the moments where I was most worried about Carol Spinney is when they show them on the boat approaching the
Yes.
shore in China. They show Barkley and Big Bird actually in the boat on the water. And not only that, but they don't cut away and they have the whole moment where they pull up to shore, the driver of the boat gets out, and then Big Bird has to like get up and walk out of the boat onto the beach. And I was like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just cut and like have him out of the boat already? That seems so
Yeah.
risky.
He was on the water a couple of times in this, and it always makes me uncomfortable. It's like, how many costumes did we take to China?
So in the
And that thing's gonna
documentary,
get heavy fast.
in the
if it gets
documentary, they
waterlogged.
say that like not enough because basically Carol Spinney says that like when they're on the boat, that was when he was the most scared, is because if he had fallen off the boat, the costume would have been too heavy and too wet that he would have had to ditch it and like get out of the costume to swim to the surface.
Yeah.
And that would have
my
just been
God.
the end of the production. Like they would have just been like,
God.
well, we
Terrifying.
lost Big Bird. I guess we go back to America now.
It's at the bottom
That's
of a
the
river
end.
in China.
Yeah, somebody 30 years later is going to be fishing and be like, what the hell? Ah!
And then just the head comes up.
Hello.
With like one
No,
eye has fallen
terrifying.
off. So yeah, at the beginning is when we get Big Bird and Barkley hanging out in the real Chinatown in New York. It's kind of nice to see them out and about in like real New York and
Yeah,
not
I
just
like
the
that.
Sesame Street version.
He seems so comfortable too. He's just like, I live here.
And he's roller skating in a giant Big Bird costume,
yeah.
which is just, you have to imagine again, Carol Spinney can't see everything that's happening all the time. So the idea that he is confident enough to not only wear a giant bird suit walking around the city, but also do it on roller skates just to show off.
It always made me so anxious. Every time I see it, I'm like, what are you doing? You didn't need to. You didn't need to do that for me. That didn't increase my enjoyment. It made
Yeah.
me more anxious.
No one
He's
mentions the
bored
roller
at
skates.
this point. He can't just be walking around as Big Bird. He's got to challenge himself.
True. Could be that. Could be that.
Yeah, by season 42 of Sesame Street, he's just like on a pogo stick every time you see him. He's just like, fuck it.
Also, I always assumed Sesame Street was uptown, and obviously Chinatown is downtown. So I guess it's far. And I don't know if he was using the subway. So I guess the roller skates. But you're asking for trouble skating through 80s New York. I don't know how much trouble if you are Big Bird. But
He's just going to run into the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is just going to be dancing down the steps nearby,
That's
and
true.
Big Bird's going to be like, oh no.
Big Bird grinding down the rails of the
On his roller
staircase.
skates.
Only if you're very
Yeah.
unlucky.
Well, we do see them use the subway in the Christmas Eve on Sesame Street special.
Yeah,
so
he's
we,
familiar with the system.
yeah.
And the bus.
Where
He's
is he
riding the
putting his
bus all the time.
tokens, though? Because back then you would have needed a subway token. You couldn't just, like, swipe a card. Like, where is he keeping his tokens?
No one's stopping Big Bird. They know he doesn't have a token, and they know he's just
He's
gonna
hopping
like
the turnstile and
bumble
it's fine.
over the turnstile anyway. And so
He's
they're
probably
just like,
opening the security gate and just go, like, he doesn't care about that alarm. He's
Ah,
going
it's
straight
like-
through.
If like a real bird flew into the subway, nobody would go, hey.
No, you're right. There's no, it doesn't say, like, you
gray
need an extra
area.
token to be a bird on the subway.
I see
I've
birds in the
seen- I've
airport
seen
and birds
on
in
the subway.
Lowe's all the time. Like, no one's stopping those birds from coming in.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a gray
I've seen
area
all
that he
kinds
takes
of-
full advantage of.
I've seen lots of wildlife on the subway. Like,
He just locks eyes with the security guard as he walks through. He's like, what?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
And he puts Barkley in a big IKEA bag like they do.
Yes, yes, I saw that. Aww. It would be the biggest one.
Yeah.
I did like that Big Bird has a rapport with this shopkeeper, even though his tactic in getting to do what he wants is pretty much just annoy the hell out of her until she gives him a scroll.
An ancient, valuable scroll that for sure will be destroyed because this guy is an idiot.
And he even implies that. He's like, well, if it doesn't come back, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah. This part was weird when the shopkeeper comes out and is just like, here's a magical quest for you. Not very in keeping with anything we've seen at all on Sesame Street.
To be fair, I don't know that she's completely bought in that he's actually going to meet the Monkey King.
But I think if he said, I'm going to go to China, she would have been like, ugh. It's just a story, Big Bird. But she does not say that. She's like, I think that would actually be great.
She's trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, I was like, maybe the people of Chinatown are used to humoring Big Bird. That was the vibe I got this as an adult. That was like, oh, I recognize this. This is adults being like, oh, no, Lindsay, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Why don't you take this book, go away and read it, and then tell me afterwards what happened in it? I'm like, I recognize this. So I'm sure as a
Happens a lot,
child, I probably
actually, too.
related to it.
The
Right.
Sesame
As a
Street stuff
child,
we've
I was
watched.
like, this is what they do to me. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's what they did to me. So who would, you got to find a way to move him on. It's
I
like,
suppose. She doesn't know how the
she's very busy. She's in Chinatown in 80s New York. She's running a shop. Like, she has a community to deal with. Like, she is a very busy woman. And this mother is hanging around, pestering you. It's probably not even I'm sure she's got like 10,000 of those scrolls in the back room. It's like, oh, this antique
ancient,
scroll.
yeah.
Yeah, you should. Oh, no, I don't know if I can give you this. Well, if you're very, very careful.
you'll go away for a few months, I'll give it to you.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, feel free. Take your time. Go slow. Like, don't rush back.
I was a little worried that he was going into her shop full of ancient things on roller skates. Again, just really prepared to knock shit over.
Yeah, with a giant dog.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you in. I'm just going to say, as a clumsy person who has lived in New York, they don't want you in their shop. They don't want you in there. And by they, I mean everyone that owns a shop. If you cannot control your limbs, and he cannot. You definitely can't take a dog in there. You're dreaming there. You're dreaming.
But when they go back to Sesame Street after they do take the scroll, one thing lovely song, we get the We're Going to China song. There's no humans on Sesame Street.
Yes.
Which was a little bizarre.
If there had been a human, they would have said, no, you can't go to China. He's just lucky that he went when only the puppets were hanging out, and they were like, great idea.
You think they were having a meeting, though, about how to get rid of Big Bird for a while? You think all the humans were like, let's just stay inside?
That does
today.
sound in keeping. They usually want Big Bird to go away as soon as possible whenever he's around.
We saw the episodes of Sesame Street where he goes to school for the first time and where he goes to camp for the first time. And in both those episodes, it does seem like the adults are ready to get rid of him because
they're relieved.
It feels like all the other Muppets leave the humans alone enough throughout the day. Like either they got their own shit going on or they just stay in their trash cans or whatever. Big Bird's the only one constantly interrupting their days and being like, hey, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, God, go to camp or something. Like, you're old enough to be in kindergarten. Go.
I feel bad for Big Bird because, like, he's not like the other Muppets, and he is more humanoid in ways, and he's big. He's bigger than most birds, as his name might suggest. I do feel like he's searching for connection, but he is going about it completely the wrong way.
He is more legitimately childlike than a lot of the other ones who are even supposed to also be children.
Yeah.
Like Telly Monster's supposed to be little, but he seems like he just lives in his own apartment and is just like doing his like watching TV all the time and being fine. But Big Bird is a lonely soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lonely, childlike soul.
Also damned to be a child for all eternity while everyone around him ages
Maybe
and dies.
Big Bird is also a vampire.
Oh, the count
Maybe
got
he's
to him.
maybe he's an immortal child. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the count got to him. Maybe he should go live in Forks with the Collins. Like, I'm just putting ideas out here. Like
They won't. They don't want that.
he's not aging. You know, he
See,
looks
now-
great.
Now I just want the Collins trying to get rid of Big Bird on the regular, just being like, yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you go to school with Edward? That'd be great. Like,
Yeah.
Why don't you
please.
tie these? Why don't you tie these cinder blocks to your feet?
Rosalie would literally just tear him apart. They would just tear him limb from limb.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't put up with him for more than 15 minutes.
Just on site, they'd be like,
Yeah.
no, we're
Alice
not
would
dealing
like
with
meet
this.
him off the freeway and be like, turn around. Just don't do this.
Like, we can
Don't
eat this
do it.
one, right? This one's cool.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. Oh, because they would turn him by accident. And it would just be like, oh no, oh no.
Have those
We've
red
annoyed
eyes and be
ourselves into
super
a vampire.
strong for a while.
They try to
Super
give him to the
strong
werewolves.
bird.
They're like, hey, do you guys want him? You can have him.
I'm not saying that we should definitely do this, but we should definitely do this because, Blood and Honey is doing very well. The Winnie the Pooh horror movie. I'm like, what if there was a horror movie where Big Bird was a vampire? I'm just saying,
This is
I
a
would
good
watch
idea.
the shit out of it. I would watch the shit out of that. He could end
Whoa.
up a good vampire like the Collins. I bet we could get Rob Pattinson. I'll speak to some people.
I feel like we have like 20 years until Sesame Street has that public domain battle. So
Yeah.
then we're gonna,
Right.
then maybe we'll,
Then we'll get
that'll
the
be our
Muppet
time to
horror
shine.
movies coming out.
Well,
yeah.
what we've got to do, which we've learned from the last couple of years, is have the screenplay ready to go. Like, we have to be first to market.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got to be locked on. It's
Somebody
the
gotta be
movie
done.
has to be done. Yeah.
Blood and Honey was either written 10 years ago and somebody's been sitting on it, or it was written in 15 minutes as soon as that announcement happened. One of those two.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which one it is. They both work. That's all I know. So Big Bird goes crazy, Cullen style. I'm into it.
I love
I'm
it.
into it.
Well, during that We're Going to China song is when we get the couple of moments of concerning language from Oscar the Grouch. There's one that I don't really get or understand, and then there's another one which I think I understood and was more concerning. The first one, he says, "Take my advice, don't eat the rice."
Yeah.
I don't really get that one. I don't know that
Maybe
there
he
was.
just doesn't like rice. I'm getting very strong 1980s grandparent vibes of foreign muck, which was what people would refer to international foods. Oh, that
just-
foreign muck. You're like, oh, it's delicious. And I do feel like more of a general xenophobic vibe from Oscar than specific racism.
Yes, because
I
he is
really think,
in
you
this
know,
same song is when he looks directly at Barkley and says, "I wouldn't press my luck there," which
Oh, I missed that.
yeah. He just
Jeez.
says that directly. Like he stares at Barkley. He's like, "I wouldn't press my luck there," and I'm like, "Oh,
Take it
awesome."
back. I take it back. Straight
Yeah.
up racism.
Yeah. Everyone else is like, "Hey, you get to eat with sticks and you get to do these things," and Oscar's like, "Hey, dog, look out." So yeah, we do get some straight up moments where they just seem those moments when they make a Sesame Street special that's not like on PBS during the daytime where they're like, "Hey, we can push this a little bit." Like
Yeah.
Oscar wouldn't say that on Sesame Street, but he can say it in Big Bird in China. He shouldn't.
Yeah.
But he
Sesame
will.
Street After Dark. It's they're playing fast and loose here. They're
Yeah.
free and easy.
Yeah. Gordon's not there to go,
Speaking of Oscar, after this, we have a weird moment where he's out of his trash can, hanging out with Telly just on the street. And we get a weird, I was going to say subplot to the special, but really it's two moments that happen.
Doesn't really come up ever again.
No. We get him talking to Telly and basically saying, "Hey, we're also going to go to China, but we're going to dig through the middle of the earth to get there, and you're going to do all the work."
Yeah. Telly is just like, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, Telly is a joiner. Telly is not calling the shots here in this friendship.
Well, right under the screen, Oscar's got a gun on him. That's why he's fine. Okay.
It is 1980s New York while we're playing stereotypes. You know,
And
like,
he's a cab driver in New York, and he's
yeah.
got a gun.
Oh,
I think
he's
we've been over
definitely
this
packing.
before.
Yeah, he
has a gun.
100% has a gun. Yeah, there's just no question about that.
But yeah, he gives Telly a headlamp to help him dig, which, feels like it would come up again. But when we see them digging later on, we just see their eyes and no illumination.
The battery burned out. It
Oh.
takes
Yeah,
a
he
long
didn't buy
time.
new batteries. Did not buy new batteries.
To be fair, he probably
He's
got
not
that out of
made
the
money.
trash. So
Yeah,
it makes
exactly.
sense. Then we do get Big Bird and Barkley on their way, to which Big Bird cannot resist the joke. Say, Barkley, doesn't this strike you as an awfully slow boat?
Joke is such a generous.
To China?
generous
You get it? Like the song?
See, I didn't get it when I was 4.
Oh, yeah, no, you shouldn't.
And now I'm like, oh no.
Okay.
But I love that they put that joke in for the parents that were watching.
I love when Big Bird
crossover
has
humor.
those moments where you're like, and there's the 40-year-old man inside of the costume. Like,
Yeah.
there goes the 60-year-old bird. Here comes the 40-year-old man, making a Bing Crosby, Peggy Lee reference.
It made me
Wink.
more worried about him because he did not pack for that trip in any way. He's going to be in that boat a long time.
Yeah, was he not aware how long it would take? Did he not think it
not a
through?
clue. He asked. I mean, the
Big
first thing he
Bird.
asks is like, "Which direction is China?" And very good line. The shopkeeper's like, "Well, it's about the same in either direction." So, but yeah, I don't really know the route they would have had to take from New York to China. Like, that's a long roundabout trip that they would have had to take.
Yeah, either way, you got to go up and around or down and around.
I'm
and
guessing they went
it's-
through the Panama Canal because the other way is
Yeah.
Yeah.
way too
I think
long.
they went in the canal.
Well, that's nice, though. I would have liked to seen that special. I would like to
Yeah.
see Big Bird sails the Panama Canal.
Yeah, he would. He'd get it stuck. He'd be like, "Hey,
Boat. He'd be like,
I
want
want to try driving the ship too."
Oh,
Oh,
Big
maybe
Bird.
that's how that boat got stuck and no one
Yep.
wanted to say it
Big
because it was a Big
Bird.
Bird.
They were filming a Big
He's
Bird
like, no,
special.
I've been here before. I did this one time. It was
Yeah.
a slightly smaller boat, but I'm totally okay with
I
it.
think they could do it. All right, I don't see anything wrong with this.
I love that once they get to China, every single local is just staring at this giant bird like, what the hell
great.
is that thing?
Yeah.
And there's
That's
children in the
correct.
background going like, "Yeah!" I love that too.
Well, because, when they did the Bob Hope special in 1979, Sesame Street had not yet aired in China. So when he did that, there was genuine confusion from people in China as to what the hell these things were and why they were walking around. At this point, Sesame Street started airing in China in like 1981, being redubbed. So at this point, they already knew, some people would have already known who Big Bird was. So it wouldn't have been quite a big of a shock. But if you weren't expecting to see Big Bird walking around your city and then suddenly
Yeah,
see Big
you
Bird,
go.
or you just be like, what the hell? I'm going to run over this thing on a bike.
Yeah. I did read that, apparently some kids just burst into tears
Aw.
when they saw him because it was terrifying.
I was going to say,
And
from
it would be.
fear or from joy?
Right?
Or enjoy. Yeah,
I
enjoy.
mean,
Both.
I'm going to go terrifying. I am having a mental block, and I don't think I have seen Big Bird. I went to a Muppet thing, a Sesame Street thing at Brooklyn Museum when I very first moved there because they had an exhibition at Brooklyn Museum, and my friend is an archivist, so she got me into the like pre
Oh, wow.
show chat with a bunch of the Muppeteers, and I remember Oscar was there because I have photos. I have very shady 2009 digital camera photos taken of Oscar, which it was very weird to see him out of his garbage can. I don't like it. He was just on the panel. And then the fairy, who I don't agree with.
Abby Cadabby.
No, I'm not having it. She's not legit. I won't have it. She was there and I was furious. But I don't think Big Bird came, and I'm just having such a
I mean, if
mental block.
Oscar
But
was there, there's a pretty good reason Big Bird wasn't also
Big Bird
there.
was not
there
there.
too.
But well, there was some coming and going.
Oh, gotcha.
Some coming
Okay.
and going. Yeah. But I did get to be within touching distance of a living Oscar, which was wild. I can only imagine being a small child confronted with Big Bird unexpectedly.
Yeah.
I would not have reacted well. I was once had a very unfortunate interaction with a Tony the Tiger as a small child, and I did
dear.
not do well with that. So I can't even begin to think where I would go with Big Bird.
Cowardly child.
No, it was messed up. He was giving away washcloths in a supermarket
Ew,
with
weird.
Frosty's logos
Famously
on
what he's known for.
them. Yeah, and I wasn't expecting it. I was with my grandmother in the supermarket, and there's just a giant Tony the Tiger giving out washcloths, and my grandmother's like, go get one, because obviously we're from Yorkshire in the 80s, so get a bloody free washcloth immediately, go get one. And like, I didn't want to, because I just couldn't
Yeah,
work out
that's not
what
good.
it was. You know, I'm like, what is this thing? And then he made me hug him. It was an unwanted hug from Tony the Tiger, and I just like burst out hysterical screaming, well, like face first into this costume character.
No!
And then went on to make a living from licensing, which is what's so wild. But like, again, core memory unlocked. Like that was terrifying. But they are terrifying. Like giant costume characters when you're a little kid and you're not expecting them. I've seen it at Disneyland. I've seen kids just have a meltdown the first time they see Mickey or any of the characters, even though they want to see them.
Yeah.
When you actually
It's a
see them,
lot.
your brain can't deal with it.
Oh, yeah, because you
so
see them this big
imagine
on your
being-
TV, and then you see them in person, you're like, oh, you're 6 feet tall. This is terrifying.
And you've seen them as
This isn't
cartoons
right.
too. Like there is a weird thing about the translation from being a 2D cartoon to being a person in a suit that it's
Yeah.
like, that's not right. I don't get it. Imagine being like a little kid in China in the 80s and seeing Big Bird.
Well, especially
Imagine living in that society and that.
yeah.
like,
When Big Bird doesn't
no.
like at this point, obviously, again, like before the internet, before like
Yeah.
seeing all these different TV specials available to you, the idea of Big Bird being anywhere other than on Sesame Street is a
Yeah.
completely foreign concept. And so to suddenly just turn a corner and Big Bird's there, I would freak out today. If I suddenly
Yeah.
walked downtown in Missoula, Montana, and Big Bird was suddenly there, I'd be like, this is wrong. Something is glitched in the Matrix, and he should not be here.
Although I would like love to see that happen for you.
Oh, I mean,
Like,
think I
yo,
would
Big Bird. I don't know what I would do. But
I'd be like calling
I would
Sam. I'd be
cry,
like, Sam,
probably.
get downtown right now.
he's here. It finally happened.
After that's when we see them riding in the motorcycle and the sidecar, which I have to wonder
Shocking.
who would rent a motorcycle to this giant
Yeah.
bird. And also,
Big Bird lied about his age for sure.
it looks like Big Bird's actually driving this motorcycle.
It really does.
I don't know how they would have done that other than like, hey, Carol, just try to drive in a straight line for 20 feet and then stop, and we'll edit it in to make it look like you were going around the whole city, because I don't know how else they would have done that other than just do it and hope for the best.
My instinct is that it's the latter, and that they would just like, fuck it. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
We run a few people over. We'll pay them off. It's cool. Let's just do this. It looks great. It's hilarious. I enjoyed it both as a child as an adult. So fine by me. Like, sorry, Carol.
Well, I mean, he does give us a small little tour of Beijing there at the beginning, where he's like, there's the Forbidden City, there's Mao's tomb, I think, is the way he presents it. But he points out 2 different tombs in this, which seems like a bit heavy to discuss, maybe for some children. But, you know, I'm sure there was a checklist of things, since this was co-produced by,
Yeah,
China
right.
Central Television, of like, hey, you gotta mention these things.
Yeah, I just can't imagine being the little kid that was watching this and then turned around to their parents and they said, "What's Mao's tomb?" And then their
Mao?
parents went, "Come sit by me and let Mummy tell you the tale." You know, I'm like, how do you explain that to children?
Yeah, go pull the red book off the shelf and we'll have a conversation.
Right? This is the joy of Wikipedia and the holes that you can fall down researching this stuff because you're like, wow. Kids today, man, they don't know they're born. We just suffered in ignorance, or our parents' ignorance, one way or the other.
If you said who's Mao to your parents, they might be like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
my mum would have been like, "Don't worry about it," and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool, noted."
This is where Big Bird's frustration begins with people not speaking, quote, American. And so at a certain point, he hears children at a school, and he, I guess for some reason, assumes that someone at a school must speak English and goes there. I don't know if it's just more of like, hey, I usually hang out with kids. They're pretty chill. They don't try to run me over with
Yeah.
bikes like those other people did. So let's go hang out with kids.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And they
Just comfortable.
They do. They get to go hang out with kids for a little bit. Barkley ruins a game of jump rope, and Big Bird joins in on some TikTok dances.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a natural. I can see that being a big hit for him. I can see that being a natural career progression.
I mean,
Influence a Big Bird.
don't put it past them. I know Sesame Street recently joined TikTok, so I would not be
Well,
surprised.
and TikTok is an app that originated in China. So
There we go.
are
There we go.
we
Full
literally
circle.
seeing the genesis of TikTok here? Is that what we're seeing?
One of those little girls
is
in that
that the
dance
question
circle
we
was
should
like,
ask?
"What if I made this an app?" And like, another little kid was like, "What's an app?" And it's like, "Give me a few years."
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Again,
You're not ready
don't
for
worry
it,
about it.
but your kids are going to love it.
I do like that there's not, I think like obviously they went there, but like there's not a moment where they try to fake any part of it, where they're not like, just against a blank wall that it's like, oh, this must have been like a reshoot they did back in New York, pretending they're still in China. Like everything feels extremely authentic, like they're actually there, which obviously they were. But I'm glad they didn't, cut corners on some of that.
Not like he cut those corners in the motorcycle, which is terrifying.
I do like when they cut to the POV shot that's clearly like shot from like a tour bus, like 12 feet up in the air, but they're like, we want to convince you this is from the motorcycle's point of view. And so they just had Big Bird saying like, I'm going to turn left now, Barkley.
I think it starts on a POV and he's like, I'm going to turn now. And it's like, what? Is he driving? And then it reveals indeed he is driving.
Yeah.
I mean, he's big, but he's not that big, is he? I mean, unless he has a GoPro like mounted high above his head, which I do not believe that he did.
He had one of those like, super long selfie sticks 360 cameras that everyone brings everywhere now. That's what Big Bird's rocking with. But this is thankfully when he gets to meet the brains of the operation, Xiao Fu, who's just, a little girl who is not in school at the moment, but walks up to Big Bird and is basically like, hey, I can help you. And he's like, do you speak American? And she's like, I speak English. And he's like, oh, close enough. But she said she can help him, but not until after school. So she takes him to school with her. She introduces him to her teacher. The translation there, she just says, this is my friend Big Bird. And the teacher's like, all right, cool.
And she seems to be able to go in and out of that classroom as she pleases because it's already in session. She's just like, hey, I'm back, teach. What's up? Brought this guy with me.
Yeah, not great supervision back then. No.
I mean, the kid ends up traveling the country with Big Bird, so no one's really concerned about where this little girl is day to day.
Maybe Shafu's really annoying too, and they're just like, go find.
I mean, I would take a Xiao Fu over a Big Bird any day of the week. I'm telling you, she's resourceful, she's smart, she knows what she's doing. She's got that eye roll down. She's even a little bit like, oh, Big Bird. I have a lot of respect for her attitude towards him. It's like, I will help you, but know that I am better than you. And she's not wrong.
Yeah, she calls him out on his shit later on when he's like, I wish everyone here spoke American. And she just goes, you're in China. That's
go
all
back
she
to
says.
America then, Big Bird. I mean, let's see how that feels in reverse, pal.
We do get to see Big Bird try his hand at writing a Chinese character, and he writes the symbol for Da, which means big, which throughout this special, Da Niao is how Shafu addresses Big Bird, which does just translate straight to Big Bird. And when they tried out a Sesame Street, like exclusively made for China, which only ran from 1998 to 2001, so didn't work out apparently, Da Niao was Big Bird's identical cousin on the Chinese version of Sesame Street.
Identical cousin.
Yeah, they didn't bother to make a different suit like they have for other Big Birds across the world. They just made the same suit, sent it over there, called him Big Bird, essentially, and we're like, it's his cousin, whatever. Well, thankfully, Xiaofu is there to lead them to the first image on the scroll, which is the Great Wall of China. Big Bird has searched for 1,000 different walls, thinking, like, is this a wall? This isn't a wall. Is this a wall? This isn't the wall. And then once they're there on the wall, he's still confused because you can't stand on a wall or you'll get footprints on the wallpaper, he says.
Oh, Big Bird. Big Bird. I mean, he's a bird. He stands on walls all day. Like, what else do birds do? That's like one of the benefits of being a bird. Like,
and this is when Shafu's starting to think she made a big mistake.
Yeah, she's like, what have I done? I just thought this would be funny. I thought this would be a gag. And here I am explaining how birds and walls work to a bird who is stood on a wall.
I mean, it's going to get even more complicated because right now is when our favorite shows up. The Monkey King himself, Sun Wukong, is here. Scares the shit out of Barkley, upsets Barkley quite a bit at the beginning, and then also confuses Big Bird a bit. But
what's not to be confused about, I guess? He's a god.
Well, if you're, Xiao Fu in this, a child who grew up in China, you're stoked to see the Monkey King. You have no problem with the Monkey King.
True.
You might be more alarmed that he is real and like actually not just a fable.
I had a huge problem with it.
What was your problem?
Terrifying. It's so scary. The makeup is scary. The appearing and reappearing. The very shoddy special effects. But mostly the makeup, just the general creepiness of it. Of being like, I have no frame of reference for this. I have no context for this.
Yeah.
I don't care for it. Did not enjoy the Monkey King. Was convinced it was a villain. Was
I
convinced.
loved the Monkey King. He was the best part of the whole thing for me.
Were you 4, Sam? Were you 4 years old?
No. I was however old I am now.
35.
There we go.
35.
So
I had a problem with this special being so steeped in magic when Sesame Street is not that. And I thought that was kind of confusing. Like, if I had been a kid, I would have been like, Sesame Street's usually teaching me real stuff. So maybe this is what's going on over there. But then the Monkey King showed up, and I was like, all right, I love this. This
off
rascal.
to the races. We're off to the races for Sam now.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. That's what you needed to just ground the magic. Was a disappearing, reappearing Monkey King.
Monkey God. Yeah, of course.
Got it. Perfect.
I thought his
Makes
makeup
sense.
was cool. I thought his nose looked really neat. They just did a great job.
As an adult, I respect it. As a child, I did not care for it.
I think that's fair. I think it's similar to like the giant suit thing, where right now, if you saw Big Bird on the street, you might be a little bit overjoyed.
Yeah.
If you saw him when you were a 4-year-old and you're staring up at this 8-foot tall bird, you're probably a little bit more terrified that he might step on your face.
If I saw the Monkey King walking towards me, I might be a little bit like, oh, should I cross the street or something?
But yeah, we get a song later on in the special that's called the Monkey King song. It reminds me of like a Spider-Man 60s cartoon theme song. Like, it's very much just like listing out the cool things he can do. But it says like, he'll wear a suit for disguise, then faster than a phoenix flies. He'll turn around before your eyes. That Monkey King is clever. And my favorite line is, he'll tease you and your dog all day. Because it gets very specific.
Yeah, is that anyone with a dog, or
Yeah,
like, is that just
anyone that
Big
has a
Bird and
dog.
Like, because
targeting
if you
dog
also
owners
don't
specifically.
call Barkley just your dog, that's so rude.
Yeah, Barkley's got
so
his
if
own
it's
life.
Generic dogs, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
But this is the rabbit hole I went on because I was like, clearly Monkey King is an established like fable that I need to look into. And oh boy, there's so much out there, everyone. Obviously, there's people out there who are much smarter than me who know a lot about this already. I knew nothing.
You obviously did not grow up watching Dragon Ball Z, or you would know all of this stuff.
Yeah, historical document, Dragon Ball Z.
It's based on the Journey to the West, though. It's the same thing.
Well, for those that don't know, like me, I looked up Sun Wukong and sort of some of the amazing facts. There are many, many movies that I now want to watch about Sun Wukong that look amazing. That part of the lore involves him peeing on the hand of Buddha.
Wow.
Yeah. But Sun Wukong was born from a stone egg and is kind of a cocky asshole, is his whole deal. But he has many abilities, including the ability to support the weight of 2 mountains while running with the speed of a meteor. He's also able to travel 34,000 miles in one somersault.
Impressive.
He has apparently amazing memory skills and can remember every monkey ever born.
No,
Every
I'm calling
monkey?
bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on
Yeah.
that one because, like, who is quantifying that? Who out here is like, let me look at this list of every monkey
There's
ever
no
born
way
and
to
quiz
verify.
you?
He's the
Right?
Santa Claus
That's like
of monkeys.
me being like, I know every bird that's ever been in my garden. Like, who can check that? And I'd be like, no, that's Kevin, and that's Gloria, and she comes every day, right? No, I'm not having that. And that makes me draw everything else into question. You know?
Well, so you see, as the king of the monkeys, it is his duty to keep track of and protect every monkey as well.
Sure,
right.
sure. We all have a duty of care, sir, but not everyone honors their responsibilities of the office. That's all I'm saying.
He's capable of making copies of himself, transforming into various weapons, animals, and other things, it says. He also has partial weather manipulation skills and can stop people in place with his fixing magic. So really, he's OP. He's very overpowered.
He's a Mary Sue. The Monkey King's a Mary Sue.
Yeah, this is a lot. I'm just not sure it's not one of the guys I dated in Brooklyn. You know, it's like, I feel like I'm on an OkCupid date
That's
now
his
and
Tinder
he's listing
bio.
all of the amazing things he can do. Yeah, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, babe, yeah. Like, why don't you do that somersault right now? Why don't you somersault yourself 31,000 miles away
I'm
right
thinking about all the
now?
monkeys in the world right now. I'm too busy to do a somersault.
He's just sat there listing the monkeys. I know, like, cool. So cool.
You gotta meet Larry.
Oh,
He's
no.
super chill. Favorite monkey.
Larry's the best one. Yeah, Larry's the best one. Boo. Boo to the Monkey King. Absolute nonsense.
Big Bird kind of agrees with you. At some point, he says, "Sick him, Barkley."
He hates the Monkey King. Yeah, sick him, Barkley, and put up your dukes. That's what he says to the Monkey King. He's going to give him a thrashing.
Got it coming. He has asked for it. I mean, as an American abroad, he has asked for that. So, stop showing off, Monkey King.
I was, similar to Big Bird, a little bit perplexed about the clues throughout this because we get clues from the Monkey King.
Yeah, they were hard.
Yeah, and Xiaofu translates them for us. And they're things like past the feathers that grow from the riverbank, past the headless water buffalo. And you're like, okay, that's going to be something, I'm sure. And they keep going to the next place. And I assumed that the clue had to do with the next place. And then they just kept not bringing up the clues again until the very, very end, where they suddenly are just like Kaiser Sozeing it and just being like, I know what that is. And so, like, I understand the mystery.
There's the glass chessboard.
Yeah,
That one was kind of cool.
It was kind of cool, but I was like, doesn't look like a chessboard.
That's-
the see-through mountain made much more sense. It's just a big old hole in a mountain. The biggest stretch is the headless water buffalo, because they just happen to be going down the river past a water buffalo that has its head in the water. That could have happened at literally any moment.
At any time.
Anywhere. They were all over the place. All over the shop.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
But for some reason, that one, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we found the final clue. This random water buffalo who has no clue what we're doing here.
And he looks very confused. I mean, to that water buffalo's credit, he's watching them sail past going like, what the... And he's not wrong,
There was apparently a part of this that got cut from the original story where Grover was going to be hosting a travelogue along, like, during this trip. Like, they were going to cut away to Grover. But each time he would go to talk about something, a water buffalo was going to be in the way. But the reason they cut that was partially because water buffaloes stink really bad. And also because John Stone maybe didn't like Carol Spinney. He apparently did like Frank Oz because he didn't want him to lie down in that slop, apparently, and have to, like, lay next to a water buffalo.
Shit on by a water buffalo. I assume that's the whole reason Frank Oz even came on the trip. And then he was just like, then his parts got cut. Oh, they didn't even film him. And then they were just like, carry this cable, please. Okay.
Yeah, you've got to earn your keep on this trip.
Yeah.
It's a bare bones operation.
But I think this is about, I don't know, I feel like the first 45 minutes of this, like, hour or so long special is pretty strong. I think the songs are all pretty good. I think the humor is there. I think the story, even though the clues don't make a lot of sense, at least there's like a flow to it that I can follow. The last 20 or so minutes feels like a little bit of that, like you were saying about the different scripts that you had to write novelizations based on. They get to the ending and they're like, shit, we don't have time for all of this story we were going to do. All right, well, the next picture is just over there. They just have to walk a block over there. They're going to get another clue 2 minutes after they got the previous clue. No story beat there. All right, how do we wrap this all up? Well, let's do a bunch of POV shots from a boat, and they're just going to narrate everything that happens. That's, again, my personal feeling is that this sort of falls off a cliff in the last 20 or so minutes.
It's like the end of Lord of the Rings, the first Lord of the Rings book. They're just on the boat. Like, there's some trees and statues.
Yeah. Is it over? Is it over? Is it over? Is it over? Yes. Yeah, I agree with you completely. I also was very let down by the Phoenix bird. Because I'd forgotten what the Phoenix bird looked like. And I was like waiting for a physical thing. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I thought she was kind of cool just in that was long enough ago that it's like, what was the process of doing this and how hard
I'm
was
sure
it?
it was cool at the time. But now I'm like, we've been waiting this whole time for a Phoenix bird. And she's going to be on screen for a whole minute singing a song and like hanging around and being like, well, lol, this was all by shenanigans.
I tricked you. The
Yeah,
Phoenix
this
bird's
was me,
trick.
shenanigans. And it was too much for me. I was like, oh, it should be glittery. And then it should turn into a bird.
Yeah.
A Muppet bird.
I
want to see
I
a
want
Muppet
a Muppet bird.
I was waiting for that to happen.
But obviously,
it did not.
Not so much. No. And I found that disappointing. I wanted that for Big Bird too. I wanted something tangible for Big Bird
I
to be
think
like.
he wanted that as well. I think he was looking for a wife or something.
Yeah, he
was
wanted
kind
to
of
go
just
see
like-
another Big Bird.
Yeah, he wanted to go
was
be
very
another big
clear.
bird. And then he's kind of just like,
Yeah, it's like, oh,
okay.
okay.
It would have been funny if the Phoenix had come out and been like, "Hey, I'm the Phoenix." They both just were like,
what if she wasn't hot? What are you doing then? What are you doing now, Big Bird? He's like,
Barkley, what's that? We gotta go? Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, is it that time?
That is kinda what happens,
my phone is
'cause-
ringing. My friend needs me. Oh no, I'm back on my date in Brooklyn again. Like, oh
sings
no,
that
my friend
song.
really. Yeah, she sings the song and he has to go.
And then the next scene, he's just back in New York. Like, well,
Yeah. And,
That was a
and the
dud.
shopkeeper, so he's like, here you go. Just throws the scroll at the shopkeep and just keeps moving. Just keeps going. Doesn't even stop. It's like pinch China back.
It's that idea when you're like,
throw it.
oh, I'm going to go on a date with a musician. I like musicians. That seems nice. And then you get there and they're like, pull out a guitar. And they're like, wait, you're going to sing
Yeah.
here
No.
on the date? This is less good than I thought it was going to be.
It's like, oh, I thought that we'd do a couple of dates before. Oh, okay. Okay, no, she's singing right now. She's singing right now. Yeah, then she does that, and then he really just has to peace out. He's got to go,
Later.
oh no, it's at the time. My hourglass ran out.
Oh, no. All right, look at the sand. It's all gone. It really was the moment that I feel like I started to, like, I was locked in. I was enjoying all of this. The moment we go to the garden park area and we have the storyteller suddenly come out of nowhere who's telling the story to the kids in narration, which is clearly not the actor who is in the scene.
speaking English.
Well, not only speaking
Like,
English,
so
but
that-
like I think it's John Stone, the director and writer. I think I've watched enough interviews with him that voice sounded pretty familiar to me. And I couldn't find this in any of the credits or anything like that. The only credit they have for the storyteller is the actor who is playing him, who we hear him speak later on to Big Bird, and that's not the same voice. And so I think they just had John Stone do the narration. And I think he might have also been the one who later on speaks the English lines for the Monkey King, because they don't sound that dissimilar.
Right.
So I think they were like, okay.
Yeah, I think the implication is the storyteller's a Monkey King in disguise, right?
I believe so, yes. But it is like the fact that John Stone.
Classic Monkey King. Classic
Yeah.
Monkey King.
He can turn into anything.
Yeah, I'm going to turn into a boring storyteller.
Hate that guy.
But that was the moment really where I was like, it's suddenly they're walking through this garden and you start to hear a man's voice who you have not heard throughout this entire special start to tell you a story about the Phoenix. And I was very confused if this was like narration, that they suddenly decided we have to fix a plot hole, let's add narration. And it kind of is. But it's also just this man telling a story to kids in the park. And you have to, by the time you're caught up, you're also bored.
I thought it was a cool story,
Well-
man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Then I speak for myself that
No, I mean, everything now is just flashbacks to dates in Brooklyn. Like, he thinks it's a cool story and your audience is bored. Like, we're back there again. Apparently, I dated the Monkey King. Yeah. This all makes sense now. It's all falling into place.
Well, Barkley agrees with me because mid-story, Barkley just gets up and he's like, fuck this, I'm out of here, and takes off. No one notices, for some reason, that the biggest dog in the world just walked away. By the way, I feel like I have to jump to the defense of Barkley. Barkley is one of my favorite Muppets.
I hate Barkley.
He's deeply annoying. Deeply annoying.
Yeah, he's a pain.
I think, from a technical standpoint, he's one of the most impressive Muppets because I often can look at him and forget that there's just a man crawling around on all fours inside of that
That's true.
costume.
That is true.
I think he's one of the most convincing Muppets, but also, yeah, I think that's what wins him over for me, really, is that I can just buy into it as a character more so.
But I think that's also why I find him annoying. So it is a success because, like, you forget that he is a Muppet. He is just like an
Yeah.
annoying dog
Just
that's
a
making
dog that
noises and being
chill
irritating. Yeah, right. And so the fact that I believe it is the fact that he is a success is what makes him annoying to me. And I'm like, oh God, Barkley, just get over yourself. Like, behave. Just be sensible. Do something. And it's like, no, he's doing it. He's doing his thing that he does. But I've forgotten that he's a man being told to do the thing that he does. So it works.
Well, when Barkley runs off, he finds some Chinese Barkleys. He finds some Chinese lion dogs who are standing there who decide to freak Barkley out a little bit. This part doesn't really matter at all, but it's nice to see a little variation on the Barkley puppet.
Truly.
I thought it was fun. I think I think I thought this whole thing was pretty boring, and that I liked the moments where he was dancing with the little duck dancers and where Barkley was dancing with these lion dogs. And I kind of wanted it to be a little bit almost more like a variety show instead of the quest, which the quest I did not find very compelling. But I think if he had been going around doing things with different people and like actually talking to and learning about like different real stuff in China, I would have found it more compelling.
Well, I feel like they could have married the two, and then everyone could have had what they wanted if more thought had been put into the quest. Because I do feel like they maybe went there without a real plan, and then on the plane on the way over, they were like, "We should write a script and clues."
From my previous
and
research,
well, how will the clues work? And they're like, I don't know, like headless water buffalo.
They looked at the plane window and they were like, "Those look like glass chessboards." Aha!
There we go.
I got it.
Yeah, the research said that like they had a list of 90 things that they wanted to cover in their trip to China, and
Too many
that's
things.
too many. So the fact that they probably started with
things.
90 and were trying to whittle it down, it's an impossible task. And so I have to imagine that's the main issue here is they had too many ideas, and when they had to start cutting some, they weren't prepared for how they were going to have to cut them and fit them in. Because I think like the second half of the quest just happens in like 5 minutes, whereas the rest of the quest took 45 minutes. And I think that just is a big sign of like how the story itself is handled and rolled out in a way that leaves you with a little bit more of like a sour taste in your mouth afterwards, because I think the beginning is pretty strong. But when it falls off a cliff, it really falls off a cliff.
I would say the pacing is off. From a story perspective, I would say the pacing is off.
Like if this was a two-parter or like 45-minute specials, like I think they could do that, like cut it off at the 45-minute mark halfway through the quest, and then do a second part that they can pace out a little bit more and tell their story more naturally. It maybe could have been a little bit better handled and not as rough of an ending.
I'd love to see some of the stuff they shot that didn't get used, because they must have a ton of stuff that they didn't use. Because if this is how they ended up in the edit, like what else do you have? What else is there?
Yeah, give me the Snyder
halfway
cut.
Through, you just got halfway through. They were like, "Fuck it, just put it all on. Just put it on. Just put it all in. Just leave it.
Just
Just
put it
I
on
don't
a
know."
boat.
Like,
We're just gonna be on a boat now. At the end.
And give me the 4-hour black and white cut of Big Bird in China. Well, yeah, I think that about does it for the special Big Bird in China. Overall, I did enjoy myself. But I think the execution near the end of it was just a little rougher than what it starts out as. Lindsay, do you still have warm feelings towards this after watching it many years later?
many years later. I do. I mean, it's so, like I said, it's just something that's so core to me, this memory. And it was genuinely very weird to go back and watch it the first time I rewatched it, because I don't remember it, but I remember it. You know, it's that very, very strange feeling of being like, oh God, I remember exactly how I felt. I remember where I was. I remember who was in the room. I remember like everything about it, but I don't remember anything about this. And then the Monkey King came on. I'm like, that guy. And then I had new memories that I was like, wait, I don't have therapy this week. This is bad. Unlocked a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I did love it. And I look at it now from a contemporary perspective, and as a writer, as a storyteller, and as someone that's worked in this realm, it's not good. Like, it's not a fine example of craftsmanship in the world of television. But I do still think it's enjoyable. I would love to watch it with one of my friends' kids that's around that age and genuinely get their take on it. Because my experience of media, my consumption of media was so different. You know, we had 4 channels. If we even had 4, then I think we did, because I think it may have been on Channel 4. It was on ITV or Channel 4. And like, we watched very little TV. It was definitely the summer holidays. The weather was probably bad because it's England. So we weren't playing outside, because like, we didn't watch a ton of TV in the summer holidays. You were outside playing. That, or I would have fallen out with my brother and my cousin and made to go inside and be alone. I was the only girl. It was a very stressful time for me. But yeah, I would love to watch it with someone who has grown up with everything that's available to you now as a kid. Like, if I were to talk to my friend's 5-year-old, she absolutely knows what China is and where China is. And like, I did not, because I was a 5-year-old in the 80s in the north of England. You know, it was
We didn't know
such a
anything.
wild thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. We genuinely didn't know anything unless it was served directly to us. And that
Yeah.
either meant it came through our parents, through school, or it came through TV.
Yeah.
And like there weren't any other ways for us to learn anything, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I saw what China was on the big map at the end of Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. You know? Kid
There
had
you
to
go,
run
right? What is it? I don't know.
With the marker in
It's-
China.
I cannot think of another way that I would have known anything about China before seeing this. There's
And I'm
just
sure in
no
school
reason.
they were just like horrible communist country. That's all I
They wouldn't
probably
even
learned
tell
about
us
it,
that.
too.
We didn't know shit. I mean, I went to terrible schools, I will say, and I can say that like clearly because they've all been closed down. The schools in my village no longer exist. They were closed down and set up a new school because they kept failing inspections. That's how bad my schools were.
Oh, wow.
So I don't even remember doing like any kind of geography. Definitely not at that age. So I don't know. Maybe we'd been on vacation to Spain one time by then. I'm trying to place everything when we did stuff. So like maybe I knew what travel was, you know? They've been to Spain, but I'm like, what is this place?
Yeah.
So just a real eye-opener. And honestly, for me, my perspective of it was exactly what it was intended to be. It was an educational experience where I learned a bunch of stuff about a culture.
Yeah.
And somehow they did manage to bed themselves into my little rubbery brain.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't like the folk tale element.
Right.
Like I didn't like the magical element of it just because that feels so counter to what Sesame Street usually tries to do, where it's
Right.
like showing you the real lives, especially when they do those shorts where it's like that kid doing ballet in that one episode we watched, where it's like this is the real lives of people who live in different places that aren't you. And it just seems so like weird to mystify it like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is neat that they did teach about like alternate beliefs in like other countries' folk tales and stuff like that. I don't know how they would have, like they could have done that with a storyteller, I guess, without making it real. That to me was just so weird and so like anti-Sesame Street. It felt like that I had a
Yeah.
hard time getting over that.
Yeah, that's
And I
probably what
hate
I loved
Barkley so
about it,
much.
which is so weird.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, but I also had less of a frame of reference for regular Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
So to someone who didn't have it's so interesting to see from both sides of it that you're like, this isn't the thing I know, and I'm like, I don't know the thing you know. I love this.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting how they managed
Yeah.
it.
And
But yeah,
Barkley's
Barkley
just
sucks.
so GD annoying that I can't handle it.
Well, I feel like I have a couple last minute questions for you, Lindsay, and you're basically, since we have a British person here, we have a couple
Hi.
questions that have been lingering that have come up on this.
Oh, okay.
Really, two. One, how prevalent of a person was Lord Lou Grade in, the 80s and 90s? Because he is talked about in all the behind-the-scenes stuff we watched as if he is like the god of TV in England.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, was he a person that was known commonly?
I mean, not to children.
Yeah. Okay.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, wait, who? What? And
Okay.
then my brain was like, TV person. So I am aware and I have an adult knowledge of it, and I don't know where that came from, of Lou Grade. But yeah, as a kid, I wouldn't have known.
All right. He's
I just
treated with
don't
such
know how
reverence,
invested my-
and he's even mentioned in the Elton John biopic Rocket Man. They mentioned Lou Grade in that as a person, and I'm like, was he just like the most like? Was he like the Ted Turner of England or something?
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think maybe there was more like good feeling towards him. Like, like it definitely is like that grandfather of television type vibe. But it is, I will say, I mean, I've been away from the UK for a long time, but I'm still very attached and involved in the culture and everything over there. It is a long time since I've heard his name mentioned. A very long time.
All right.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's so wild that you would bring it up, and I'm like, wait, I know that name. Television.
He comes up so often.
So that
We hear
answers your
about this fool
question.
all the time.
Yeah, it's
Interviewers will be
crazy.
like, "Ah, yes, of course, you worked for Lord Lou," and then everybody will just be like,
Oh, really?
"Yeah."
Lord Lou. I remember when he died. That was a big deal. I do remember that. But yeah, kind of. That's so funny. It's like a name I haven't heard in so long, and it's on a Muppet podcast.
Well, yeah, because they even have in the
Love it.
Muppet
Love it.
movie when they are trying to get their Rich and Famous contract and they go see Orson Welles, his character's name is Lou Lord in the Muppet movie, so he's
Yeah.
even like referenced in that, and it just seems like Jim Henson had a lot of reverence for him, and the people who are interviewing Jim Henson seem to have a lot of reverence for him. So I was like, is this someone like I also had not heard of him until we started doing this podcast, and so it was like, is this like a gap in my knowledge that I should know this man?
No, I think
Yeah.
it's a very niche British entertainment person, but I agree completely that those people probably would have had, strong feelings. And it's definitely as a media personality, people would absolutely know, and people within the media industry would absolutely know. But I don't know. Also, but then again, it's like like I said, there were so few channels, and that sort of person people had more of awareness of the behind the scenes people. Like today, no one knows who's running what channel. Like there's so many channels, who's doing what, who's where, what company owns what. Not everyone knows if you're not in the industry.
Yeah.
But back then you would have known probably because they were more front and center. So like people knew who was running the BBC. People knew who was running ITV. Like they were around. They were part of it. So my grandparents probably would have known who he was. But as a kid, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know this guy.
Well, the other thing I have to ask about is that when I'm researching things, specifically looking for references on Twitter, I am often confronted with the fact that the word Muppet is not just used to describe Jim Henson's creations. It is often used in a derogatory way towards, I'm going to say mostly politicians. Is this...
I mean,
I just don't know what the question is here, but really just like the use of the word Muppet as an insult is a fascinating
context
thing. That
of the word Muppet.
Yeah.
You Muppet. It's a very mild insult. It can almost be an endearing insult. You know, if you're like, oh, he's an absolute Muppet, that one. You know, it's not, there's so many worse things. We have such a colourful and vibrant library of swear words and insults as a country, which is something I'm proud of. So Muppet, for sure, is a gentler one. I mean, you can take more offence to it if you choose to, as with any word. I would say I want to say it's more common in the South, because I'm feeling that Towie... Only way is Essex, the Cockney vibe of like, you fucking Muppet. Like, there's a lot of that, you know? But I'm trying to think the last time I called someone a Muppet, but I definitely have. It's like a gentler idiot, you know? It's like, oh my God, you Muppet. Like, you're a foolish person. But without wanting to go in with any real intent of malice, you know? It's not malicious.
I think almost the only time we're exposed to it is in relation to, like Matt said, politicians. So it does seem like a really politically charged like thing. But I always have assumed it just means like head empty kind of person.
I would say it isn't necessarily, but I think it is an insult that people have embraced online because of the humor of it as well.
Sure.
Because there is just an intrinsic humor to calling someone a Muppet. It's funny if you call someone a Muppet because you're laughing at them too. You know, you're telling them they're as dumb as a Muppet.
Right.
You know, not all Muppets were dumb. But it is, and that's why it's always funny with politicians, because obviously a lot of politicians, we haven't got all day. But my feelings about the current government in the UK are not warm and cozy. But to call them a Muppet, these people who are like, you know, we've got a very upper class government right now who are very well educated and you know, think themselves to be very, very clever intellectual people who are smarter than everyone else. So to call them a Muppet, you know, it's really knocking them off their pedestal.
Really biting.
It
it's
affects
like,
people
okay,
who
you
think
Muppet.
too highly of themselves even more because it's like bringing them down a peg.
Yes. Yeah, you're a Muppet. Like, imagine being like the smartest, cleverest, most pretentious, up themselves person, you know, and then just everything they say, just like roll your eyes and like, okay, Muppet. You know, it's like, it really is just like, I know you am, but what am I? You know, it's like a, shut up, Muppet. Like, you total Muppet.
All right.
It is really the intent behind it is what it means, but it can be applied far and wide. It doesn't just have to be politics.
I hear it from
but it is fun to insult
when I'm watching Formula One.
politicians.
At times, I hear different drivers call other drivers Muppets occasionally, and I'm just like,
Yeah, you Muppet.
okay, I know it's an insult, but like the context is confusing sometimes to me.
Yeah, if somebody called me that, I might be like, thanks.
Yeah, this
love
is the problem.
Gonzo.
Is any word in the English language can be an insult depending on how it's delivered, and
Sure.
I'm not going to say it, but the most offensive word you can think to use to describe a person can be a term of endearment depending on where you're from. I had a college roommate who would use that four-letter word every day to like, all right, and it would follow like, all right, you
Yeah.
follow with that word, and it was just his delightful way of saying hello, and that's pretty common too, depending on where you are in the
Yeah.
country.
Not in our country.
So, no, I learned that real quick. I learned that so fast because that
Right.
word was so free and easy coming out of my mouth when I moved here because it just did not have the same level of meaning. And then I moved here. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm going to stop
I
saying
should remove
that.
that one.
I'm
We're
stop
just
saying
we're so much more uptight about swear words here. It's
yeah,
annoying.
I won't.
really
we don't need to do England versus America and the values, the puritanical values, especially around language. But in the UK is like definitely a lot more free and easy with what we use when we use it, and it is always context and intent. But Muppet, by and large, a gentler insult, a laughing at. And who doesn't love a Muppet, you know? But also, you don't want to be a Muppet. You know, I'm not a Muppet. I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah, those guys are getting blown up all the time. Yowza.
Exactly. Specify which Muppet before you call me a Muppet.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, I wanted to check in with both of you to see what non-Muppet things you might have enjoyed this week. Lindsay, what did you enjoy this week?
I had a list as long as my arm of things I've been watching, and then I tried to think about the things I've actually enjoyed because I've been watching a lot of things I'm
To be
not
fair,
enjoying, and
this,
I don't know why.
this segment we do not always just talk about things we've enjoyed. It's just
Okay,
things we've
good.
watched
I
in
have been
general. So you can list all the bad things too.
Persevering. Oh, I mean, why am I still watching Wolfpack? What's wrong with me intrinsically that I've
I
been
can't
watching
even
Wolfpack
parse
on?
what Wolfpack even is.
It's the new Teen Wolf show on Paramount. Because I
Oh,
wanted to
it's-
do it. I wanted to do it for Buffy. I wanted to do it for Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right.
I wanted to support her, and I watched the first two. And I might. I don't know if I can. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know if I
Is
can.
it a spin-off of Teen Wolf?
Yes, it is. It's the
Okay.
same team. My husband is a TV editor, and he edited a bunch of episodes of the last Teen Wolf TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So I also had, professional curiosity. And he literally watched 10 minutes of it and was like, cool, and left the room. So I should have known then. But one thing I did watch this week, which just bringing it back to Tights and Fights, obviously, last night, depending on when you're listening to this, but very recently, you can watch it on Peacock on replay, was the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. The last live event was Elimination Chamber, which we've got to work on that name, friends. They don't call it that in Germany, and I feel like we could change it everywhere if we wanted to.
Not the worst idea.
Oh, it's so bad. Like when you break it down, and I get it because there are eliminations in the matches, and they are in chambers in the matches, but that we call a lot of things that they aren't. So let's think about that. But I am gonna say it was one of my favorite WWE live events of recent times, if not. I don't want to say ever, but I think it was definitely the best Elimination Chamber I've ever seen as a live event. And we had some friends watch it who aren't wrestling fans, but we had them watch the end of the Royal Rumble. People who don't like wrestling are just...
I do
they've
this
turned
all the
off already,
time. At
and
least
I'm
there's
sorry.
like two of us now.
Okay. So people who watch the Royal Rumble, we had these friends watch the final match of the Royal Rumble, which was against these two guys, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. It's a whole Shakespearean story wrapped up in this that was insane. They watched that one match and booked tickets to WrestleMania. So then they watched Elimination Chamber on their own, and they were texting us the whole time. We're like, this is incredible. This is incredible. What is this? What is happening now? And the whole thing, bell to bell, was so much fun. Again, if you love Muppets, you should take a fresh look at the WWE because it's Muppet adjacent at the worst of times, at the best of times. It's straight Muppet.
Yeah, you get your fun explosions. You get people jumping off stuff and getting hurt. You get the occasional unfortunate racist moment. You get all the Muppet stuff.
Oh, dear.
Truly.
Oh,
Big
dear.
wacky characters doing big broad things, bright colors, music, not always good music. Celebrities pop up. Sometimes that celebrity is Logan Paul, but what are you going to do? There are definitely
Thankfully,
people that
he has
popped up on
avoided
the
the
Muppets.
so far. We have not had a Paul brother Muppet interaction
Oh.
yet, but
I think
Oh,
we
no.
missed that
I didn't
window.
want that
think
to
we're
be me.
okay.
yeah.
He's busy now, and he's busy now being really good.
He's
at
unfortunately
wrestling,
very
which
good.
is so upsetting. So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of the best live events. Definitely one of my top 10 favorite live events of like the last 5 years. And definitely the best Elimination Chamber I've ever seen. But super, super fun if you are okay with scripted comedy violence. I don't think anyone got hurt. So you can watch it knowing no one really got hurt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody
And
got
have a good
legitimately injured last night. So,
Right?
yeah, no.
And so
yeah.
many just great athleticism, great shenanigans, just a lot of laughs last night. A lot of laughs.
Yeah, no, I was watching that as well last night, and yeah, I had previously talked about the Royal Rumble, saying that the last moments of the Royal Rumble should have won Best Picture this year.
Yeah, you loved
And that just continued. Last night was like a sequel, and it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And
So great.
I can't wait to see what comes of this, because certainly something will happen at WrestleMania, and I'm planning on doing the same thing. I've done this in the past, where I'll have a WrestleMania party and invite a bunch of friends over who don't give a shit about wrestling most of the time. But when I've done this in the past and had friends over, they end up really enjoying themselves, because WWE does a great job of like telling the story, like before the match. They'll show their little video packages, and people can watch that and go, okay, cool. So good guy, bad guy, got it. And then you get really invested in it. So I'm looking forward to having that WrestleMania party again this year. Well, yeah, on top of that, I've still been watching The Last of Us and enjoying that a lot. And it made me go back and start replaying the game again, which I had been trying to avoid because I'm trying to play, new games I haven't played before, as opposed to the fourth version of a game I've played 4 times. But they got me. So I went back and I started playing The Last of Us remake for the PS5, which they went back and made it all pretty and the graphics all better than it looked in 2013. And fully sucked into the world of The Last of Us again. Good game, good show. Sam, what have you been enjoying this week?
Last night I saw a little movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Oh.
And you know what? I thought it was fine. I don't know what everybody's talking about.
That's the best review I've heard of it so far.
Everybody is like, I saw a review on Vulture that was like, this movie's a cry for help. So it was like, I read all that before I went to see it, and the whole time I was like waiting for whatever was supposed to happen that was supposed to make me like feel bad for everybody making the movie. And it never came. It's not a good movie, but think back on all the Marvel movies there have been, and it's not any worse than most of those. It was fun. It was like, I just thought it was fun. I thought Kang was cool. There was like the last fight scene was actually like pretty impactful, and like it looked like they were beating each other up and bleeding and stuff, which is rare for those kind of movies. They weren't just shooting beams at each other. I just was like, went in expecting to be disgusted, and then I came out and I was like, okay, that was just another Ant-Man movie.
Wow. Welcome to 2023. Welcome to consuming media in 2023. I went in expecting to be disgusted and came out saying it's fine on a podcast the next day.
I just think it's so crazy how much people hate this movie. I think when it's just so small. Like, there's no point in being so mad about this movie.
They should put your review on the poster, like Sam Schultz. I didn't vomit. 5 stars.
I did not vomit. I had a fun time. I laughed. I was laughing. I was crying. I wasn't crying, but I was laughing. So it's not a cry for help. Paul Rudd's fine. He likes being Ant-Man. I can tell. He likes to be a little cutie who can turn into an even littler cutie, and that's all he wants in life.
I mean, in general, I think you've tapped into the media criticism issue of this current era we are living through, which is like everything must be the best movie that's ever been made. If there's even one thing I can find wrong with it, it shouldn't have been made. It's embarrassing to everyone involved, and it's like there's got to be some mediocre
a lot
stuff.
of movies suck.
Yeah.
I know we really don't go back and talk about I Want Bird often enough in Iron Man 2. So I'm like, you know,
I like that.
every
I like
Iron
Iron Man too.
I Want Bird. There were issues
wanted
back
his
then
bird.
too. He did want his bird, and it wasn't the same bird. They got him a different bird. He was furious. It is weird now. It has to be the greatest thing of all time, or it's trash. There's no in between anymore.
And I think that's
Yeah.
just, like,
I'm sure it's annoying for Marvel too, who probably wants to be in a place where they can just make movies and not everybody is like losing their minds every
Yeah.
time. Except I guess they want people to go see them, but also it's like you should be allowed to just make a crappy movie every now.
I mean, I think this.
Well, people
yeah.
did go and see it, right? The box office is
It's doing all
stellar,
right.
so they're fine.
It's doing all right.
It's the same thing that happens anytime. Like, I mean, we talk about this from time to time with the Muppets. Like, Muppet fans are as
Yeah.
vicious as Star Wars fans, as vicious as Marvel's fans, and
Yeah.
DC. Maybe not as
Oh,
vicious
yeah.
as DC fans. But when the Muppets
Yeah,
do,
that's true. They've ruined a lot of people's lives.
it's like there's this mentality, and sorry if this is you, of like when Jim Henson died, the Muppets can never be as good ever again. And
Yeah.
that's okay, if you believe that, that's fine. But to continue dragging every single new Muppet thing that comes out as like, yeah, well, yeah, it's not as good as the Muppet Show though. It's like, cool, dude.
Bro, I've watched every episode of The Muppet Show. There's some really
Yeah.
bad episodes of The Muppet Show.
Yeah, which ones are you defending? The super racist ones? The ones that are banned from Disney Plus? But it's just that thing where, you know, I think this is also, you know, I'm 35 years old. I don't have time to argue with you about the Muppets on Holy Moly. I can watch it. I can say, yeah, maybe that's not the best thing in the world. But if we're going to spend more than 5 minutes arguing about it, both of us have wasted our time. I like,
We both
I'll
need
go
to
see
think
it.
about ourselves.
yeah.
Go see Ant-Man. Just think, oh, I like Ant-Man. And then leave the theater and never think about it
And
again.
even if you
That's
hated it,
okay.
guess what? That's okay. You can hate it.
Think, oh, I hate that Ant-Man. And then leave the theater.
Well, before we go, we need to let you out there know what we'll be watching and talking about next time, because next week we'll be going back to Fraggle Rock and finishing up season 1 with episodes 21 through 24, titled Gobo's Discovery, Moki's Funeral,
Oh, no. Not Moki.
The Beast of Blue Rock, and New Trash Heap in Town.
Oh, wow.
And we will have a special guest segment in that episode where we'll be joined by Sujith Varghese, who you might recognize from his role as Mr. Meta on Kim's Convenience, but also he is the writer of several episodes of Fraggle Rock, including The Beast of Blue Rock, that we'll be talking about with him next time. But obviously, before we go, we need to give a huge thanks to Lindsey Kelk for joining us today. Lindsey, I want to plug The Christmas Wish for you because I recently read that.
Aw.
It's very fun. I had an especially weird time that I messaged you about reading it because I, for some reason, didn't read the back of the book, didn't read the plot summary, didn't read anything about this book before I dove in.
That's what I'm looking for, honestly. That's my dream.
But you know,
Pick it up and read
this
it.
isn't spoilers because it's on the back of the book. I think everyone else who went in to read the book knew about this. It's a Groundhog Day-esque, fun Christmas romance novel. I went in not knowing about the Groundhog Day part of this. And so the moment it happened, I was just as confused as the main character.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you're the only person who has expressed that experience to me, so it's very interesting to me to know feedback from someone who had that experience.
It was a great
'cause
time.
it's all over it.
It was a great time,
I'm so
but
pleased that you still enjoyed
as
it.
the moment it started happening, I stopped and then I went and Googled to make sure that this was everyone else knew this was happening. And I was like, oh, it's on the back of the book says this. I should have known.
Is it to the level where it's maybe this page was reprinted accidentally? Or
No, it was more so the hold on, didn't this happen already? I was like,
okay.
oh yes.
It totally
did.
did. Yeah, it took me many months to make that happen. So I'm so pleased.
Yes,
I'm so pleased.
that book itself is very delightful. Recommend people go out and check it out. But what else would you like people to check out?
That is very kind of you. But yes, I have a bunch of books. Rom-coms is my bread and butter. I write rom-coms. Delightful. shenanigans packed rom-coms. They're all out there. If you find me on social media, I'm at Lindsey Kelk, and there's links to everything there, should you feel so inclined. And also, if you do like wrestling and you haven't already switched off from me banging on about the live event, which we shall not speak its name, you can listen to Tights and Fights, where I'm every week prattling on about wrestling and wrestling-adjacent nonsense for a whole hour with the incredible Danielle Radford and Hal Lublin. And it is one of the highlights of my week every week, because it is just three pals chatting about a thing they love and having a time. So check it out if you're just looking for some happy relief for just an hour of your week.
Yeah, former guest of this podcast, Hal Lublin, actually, who came on to talk about the Muppet Show
Fellow
with us.
Muppet fan.
Yeah. Has done many different episodes of different podcasts all about Muppets.
He loves a Muppet. He loves a Muppet. I don't know what else to tell you.
Well, thank you again for coming on, and everyone should definitely go check out Lindsey's books and podcasts, and, just give her a follow on social media.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm on deadline, so I'm definitely around, basically. is when I know I'm supposed to be finishing a book, but
we
why
have
would
a
I do
boss
that?
who goes on deadline pretty frequently and tweets so much when he's on deadline.
Oh, you'll know
I like that you
when
tried to be
we're busy.
vague about we have a boss. It's like we have
Yeah,
one
like,
boss
who
and
could it
everyone knows who
be?
that man is.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, who
He doesn't
could it
listen to
be?
this show. I can say whatever I want about it.
Well, before we go, we also need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to head on over to commitment.com to pick up a logo enamel pin, or check out our Patreon page, or look at our faces, or send us a message. Any of those things you can do at commitment.com. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any questions or links to secret Muppet media that isn't readily available out there on the internet, because we are planning on doing a couple of catch-up episodes here in the near future, where we're going to go back and watch the stuff that we either missed because it wasn't uploaded previously, or we just somehow accidentally skimmed over. So we're going to do a whole episode, at least one, probably two, watching some stuff that we missed, including a few Jimmy Dean and Rolf segments, Sam.
We found
We got
some
like
more?
4 more that we have not seen before, so yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
But you can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where every week we will tweet out the links to the things that we're going to watch so you can watch along with us. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.